paused it. Go ahead.
Hereby provided a written notice in the agenda of the public meeting as stated below. There's an opportunity for public comment as noted on the agenda upon recognition by the presiding officer.
Roll call, everyone is here. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there-
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it passes, and we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. A reminder to everybody that this Saturday is our fall festival and the fire department breakfast. I believe that starts at 8 o'clock to 10, and then the festival's 10 to 2. So I hope you all come and participate. Building inspector, his report is in your drive. The zoning administrator is here tonight. Does anyone have any questions for him on his report? Then you're good to go. Thank you, sir. Plan commission, Anton, did I see? Oh, you're behind this board. Is there anything that we don't have on our agenda tonight that you want to talk to? Okay. Joint library, you do have that report in your drive. Fire and EMS, his report is in the drive. And he's working tonight, so he's not going to be with us. He will see us next Tuesday for a budget. Parks Trails and Rec, is everything in the drive that you guys want to talk about as far as tonight, or is there something outside of that? Okay. Public Works, anything, Chris, that you want to speak to?
No.
Wisconsin Towns Association did not meet. I don't believe Bass Lake met this last month.
They
Did
did. They met last night. They had
Oh.
nothing to pass along. I did not attend the meeting, but they didn't have anything
Okay.
for us.
Internet broadband, I know Northwest is building out and is very busy in the town. If anyone has any need to hook up, give them a call. St. Clair County District 2 and 3 supervisors, I don't believe any of them are here tonight. I did want to report also that I attended the first session of the FEMA senior officials overview of NIMS, which is a whole lot of stuff with letters. And we went through a training today for all senior officials. It's one that I've taken before. It is our time to update our emergency response plan here in the town. And I think it's important that people don't necessarily understand what takes place for an emergency and how that happens. And board members are always at a loss of that just as much as the public is. But there is a incident command system that is set up, and it's across the state, across the country. And so that's what we were learning about today, is how is that set up? Who's in charge? Who helps that person in charge? How do you manage all that? So it was a very interesting 4-hour session. I did put some things in the drive and correspondence for the board in case you would like to look at that. It gives you some planning ideas, etc. I will be coming back to you probably in November with update to our emergency management plan, because it has to get updated periodically, and now we're at the time to do it again.
I believe that was one of the things that we had asked the fire chief to look at.
He and I are looking at it, but it has to come from the board.
Yep. Thank you.
So he and I are scheduling a meeting mid-October. Public comment. Anyone here to speak to anything that is not on the agenda?
Teresa, Darla Myers.
Okay,
I just want to ask you to make sure that people go up to the microphone and not speak from the audience. Those who are online cannot hear and don't know who is speaking.
all right. Thank you. So the first thing we have up is the preliminary plat for Artisan Farm. Doug, is that you? That's you. Okay, come on up.
Want to sit. So last month, when I was before the board, we were tabled to this meeting. I think in essence, we didn't have anything solid with NSP as far as crossing under their power line. We now have an approved plan with them. Lee's been provided a copy of that for review. I think that was one of the issues, and the other issue that was suggested we follow up with is a vegetation plan. I did give one of those to Lee as well. And I do have some copies with me if you want to see them. In a nutshell, basically save as many trees as we can, and we're gonna plant, Jeff wants to plant white pines in areas that we grade, like between driveways and things like that.
If you want to grab that mic right off of that thing in case you want to stand up there and show something, you can sure do that. Thank you. Oh, I'll give her that. So this is along the roadway.
So, yeah, so in general, I just wanna get some.
Well, wait till you get back to the mic.
Thank you. So in a nutshell, the red line that you see going around there is the grading limits. So there's some of the road that's being graded or gonna be cleared and graded, I should say. Obviously, we have to clear out for some building pads. And then also for the driveways. So in the areas where we're gonna be grading out for pads and things would be the areas where we would replace trees that are gonna have to get taken down. And I just put a little note down by the legend there. So in essence, he's planning on doing like 6 to 10 foot tall white pine trees and putting them in kind of for screening between building sites and the road in those areas.
Lee, would you like to speak to this plat?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. We did take a look at the grading for the road connection to the county road. As far as what we can tell based on the email thread between Doug and his designers and NSP, it looks like it's meeting what NSP is looking to have done. I think there's probably some minor details that are still being worked on based on what I saw, but I think from what I see, it appears as though at some point NSP will be giving a more formal blessing along with some easements that need to be put together.
Yeah, so I think I gave you a copy of that. So they've instructed me, so I've drafted the easement language, or I shouldn't say the language, but the description of the strip of land that crosses the power line, the NSP property for the road. I'll say we managed to do it without retaining walls, so we don't have to worry about that. We also have some utility easements that, we typically put 12-foot utility easements on each side of the road right away. Well, those again would have to come from NSP if they want it. Will allow us to do that. So they're investigating that part of it. And also, there's gonna be temporary grading that needs to be done for that grading plan that'll be outside of the permanent easement. So NSP has their legal team working on the actual easement documents.
And have you gotten approval from St. Croix County for that?
I have nothing from St. Croix County yet.
So they have not approved that connection yet.
No, they haven't proved anything yet. I haven't got any comments at all yet on any of it.
The fun of it all.
I
And
don't
then,
anticipate an issue with the county as
Okay.
far as the connection. They've always wanted it to be there, and I think we're gonna meet all of their criteria. So,
And then what about this lot 11 that you have commented in your staff report?
My recollection is the discussions on lot 11. I thought that based on the circumstances, the board and plan commission were okay with that lot.
Okay,
Unless I'm misremembering that.
and then there's a comment that between 9 and 10, the driveways are less than 200 feet.
We do have a couple page memo of engineering issues.
Yeah.
That need to be resolved and. There's that issue, there's some radial lot line issues as well as other engineering details that are typical for. Ongoing review of the plans for a project like this.
Anyone have any questions for them?
Yes, so. Where, you kind of educate me here with this question. Do you feel that this development brings in a need for turn lanes on County Road E?
yes, there's gonna be, it's a type B1 intersection, I can't remember it exactly, Lee, but there'll be a deceleration lane and an acceleration lane.
Okay,
How does that happen with county?
The developer
Yeah,
pays, yeah.
it'll be paid for by the developer.
thank you.
Anything from anyone else? Anton, did you have anything you wanted to add to this? You'll have to come up to the microphone if you want to speak. No? Okay. If we approve this, obviously, there's still some outstanding items on this staff report that need to be addressed along with this, final documentation or paperwork for this connection.
Yep.
And the approval by St. Croix County.
I would wanna make one comment that Lee just mentioned about lot lines and things. I think they've been the same since the concept, and I think, it's generally been a consensus that they're fine the way they are. So I just wanted to get that out there since Lee mentioned it. Otherwise, we're gonna be
Jockeying it all around.
jockeying it all over again. Exactly.
What is the distance between those two driveways? If it's not 200 feet, what is it?
I should have checked that and I didn't. I can't believe that it's not, because it's pretty standard, so. If it isn't, it can't be by much. And
It's
we'll
not by
establish,
much.
yeah,
When I scaled it, it was just under, so I
10 feet or something,
something along those
Okay.
lines.
a minor adjustment to fix it.
So it's relatively close,
Which two lots?
9 and 10.
Yeah, I thought it was 10.
No,
No, I'm wrong. That's fine.
9 and 10. And then what about the cul-de-sac detail does not match the configuration of the cul-de-sac on the plan? What are you addressing there, Lee?
It just needs to be, it just needs to match the detail plate on the plan
Okay,
and, one way or the other. There was
Oh,
it wasn't consistent.
in the plan itself, in the construction.
Right.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that doesn't match, so that means one or the other has
So I
to,
think we ended up, probably what's going on, we had it centered, I think, to start with, and then we did an offset.
Yep.
I'm guessing the detail never got changed.
That's what it was.
okay, so you'll be changing that.
I think that, like Lee mentioned, there's a number of items that need to be addressed, but I think they're all just doable things.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions on this?
No, I just know that we talked about last time, one of the things was the radial lot lines with the road, and I think we all agreed that we're fine to kind of allow with what's in there because of how the road is. How the road is proposed to be constructed, and then obviously some of the challenges they'll have with topography there. So I think that was the only other issue that I had noted that we discussed last time.
And on that outlot, are you doing some sort of easement to that house that accesses through that? I'm talking about off the
I
cul-de-sac.
think the whole outlot will just be conveyed to.
Oh, you're gonna convey it to them.
I think so,
That's probably the easiest thing to do.
yeah, it is.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'll make a motion if everyone's ready here on the board. I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Artisan Farm. Conditional upon them getting a dedicated access from St. Croix County through the Northern States Power Company parcels. And also, that they will take care of any outstanding issues on the staff report that have to be resolved. That the board is comfortable with the driveway separation on 9 and 10. And the width to lot ratio on 11. And that any other requirements in here will be addressed.
Second,
Any other discussion on that or anything anyone wants to add to it?
Do we need to put in there conditional upon St. Croix County's approval?
I said
I don't recall hearing.
no, I didn't
apologize if
condition
that's
it. So
something-
St. Croix County hasn't approved yet, have they?
No, I haven't seen comments.
So I'll add that we condition it upon St. Croix County's approval on it. And you're okay with that?
second,
Anything else? All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, it passes.
Thank you.
Did you want me to sign anything that says conditional on it, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, you wanna sign a big one, that's right. Got a little in there.
Well, whatever you want to do, because you're gonna have to meet conditions, so. That way you can get on to the next thing. Well, do you want me to sign the big one?
Sure.
Okay.
Sign it. Do have a question then as far as the developers agreement, will that first one come from the town? Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the concept for Steve Vader at 360 144th Avenue here in Holton. Okay, do you want to introduce that?
This was a long discussion. But lots of things to talk.
You can
about.
pull that a little closer.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
so. This is just a concept plan. You can see there's 8 lots on there. I guess. One of the issues that we have is 2 different zonings. You'll see a dash line vertically going up through lot 2 from kind of where the cul-de-sac is. That from that dash line west and north of the 144th is zone preservation residential. And the remaining of the property is zone ag residential. The discussion at planning commission was that there's not much, of the features that you usually find in preservation residential on that piece. That maybe it should be changed to ag residential, like everything that surrounds it. So we had that discussion and, I think the planning commission was favorable about doing that. The other big ticket item, I guess, on here was the improvements to 144th Avenue as far as, getting that road up to standards with blacktop. Steve's intention is to put a cul-de-sac at the end. When we got the Stantec memo, regarding blacktopping, I think Steve then and I had some discussion of, well, if we're gonna do that, maybe he would go ahead and do all 8 lots at once rather than do a 4-lot CSM to start with. So you would just do a major and do all 8 lots. And I guess as far as the blacktop part of it goes, correct me if I'm wrong, but Steve is willing to to contribute to that, I guess. It'd just be details as far as
Right.
everybody share at that part, at that point.
So that's the issue that comes up with this, is that you have someone who's developing on a road that is a gravel road. And in the past, the board has asked them to upgrade these roads to town standards, not, I mean, it's a town road right now. It's not like it's a private road, which there's a difference in that. Part of this, as you can see on the map, if he does the 8 lots, it doesn't bring you out to V. It stops before that. So that's something that the board kind of has to weigh in here on this concept. Is that if he's gonna come in, he's conceptually showing you 2 CSMs in essence. I think that's the easiest way to say it, is that you're coming in with lot 1, 2, 3, 4, and eventually you're gonna come in with lot 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. Or you're gonna do all 8 at once. It's something for the board to decide, because if he comes in with the 8 and he does that portion of 144th, it would only make sense that the board would take care of the rest of it and talk about whether you want to assess a cost of that to the adjoining properties or not.
So for more education for all of us, today, I was notified that there's 2 7-acre lots on that same street for sale.
Yeah,
I think it's probably about 7 acres total. They're both like 3.5 lots, and they're shown on the map.
yeah.
On the
I'm just
Right.
making it out there.
So it's the 2 lots west of this suggested area.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So having said that, we've done this in the past. I subdivided property at 2-lot CSM on a private driveway that was 1,200 feet long, and I built that road from County Road V all the way in. Only because my subdivision took place right up against County Road V. How unlucky am I? But because it was a private road, I was responsible for 100% of the costs. I was able to convince my neighbors to help me out, but I still bore the brunt of it. In this case, this is a private road. So it is difficult to tell a developer that they're responsible for everything to the county highway when that's not the property he's subdividing. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots on there that are gonna access a new blacktop road that didn't access it before. Actually, probably 6, because isn't this driveway going between future lot 8 and probably lot 2, a driveway to the other property? So it's 8 lots. So it's something to think about. I don't know that we're gonna get the complete cost of that road out of those 8. But it's something to consider. Portion that we would be responsible for. Or does anyone have any other ideas?
It sounds like that's the only intelligent way.
I just thought maybe I should just point out too that you notice that lots 1 and 2 on the north side of 144th, they actually access 145th. So
Yeah, so lot 1 and 2 over
Well, the
there.
driveways are on 144th.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, no, they can't be on the.
Yeah, they're on 144,
Yeah.
145th.
Russo and Johnson.
Oh, those 2. I'm
Oh, yeah.
sorry. I thought I was looking at your 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You're right. So that takes 2 off the 8. So now you're down to 6. You're right.
It doesn't take 2 off the 8, it takes 2 off what would be the west portion of 144.
Right, which was 8 lots. I count, or 6 lots. 1,
I
2,
thought it was
3, 4, 5, 6. So now it comes down to 4.
6 parcels. Because my lot 1 and 2, as it is now, is actually a 760 parcel. So if you count them all up, it's actually 6, so it would actually be adding 5 new lots to the road.
So you're saying your existing lot 1 and 2 are already separated?
Oh, separate PID.
This says a separate parcel, and that's the parcel that's zone preservation res. And all the rest of it is on A-res.
I gotta come back. Lot one is separate from lot two? No, lot one and two are separate from the rest. Okay,
Lot 1 and 2 is 6 acre parcel.
okay,
So we're combining his two parcels to do this.
right, but still you're subdividing the 6 acres.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this? Did you want to weigh in?
The only other point that I would like everyone to be, keep on the radar is the existing 66-foot easement to the Moan parcel, which looks like it traverses lot 1, 2, and 3 on this concept. My understanding is that's an easement for driveway access. The fact that was put into place at 66 feet leads me to believe that there was contemplation at some time in the past that could become a town road at some time, since that's a standard right of way.
Oh, yes,
So-
they're on the north side of 2 and
Right.
3.
So I think we commented on this in the memo that easement can never be a town, never have a town road there. In a perfect world, that would be more like a 20-foot driveway easement, but that's what was put into place. So just so that, there's some mechanism to ensure that never becomes contemplated for a town road, without, a conscious decision to decide to make some of those lots non-conforming.
So tell me again on our map here.
It's at
Right,
the
don't
top of
forget
2
the
and
vehicle.
3.
And there's a little piece of it on one,
Yeah, it's
on
2
the
and
east
3.
side of,
The one that runs east lot.
correct?
Yeah.
Yep, that one.
Well, that was flagged at 66.
That's where, oh, I see it.
How big is the Moan property? Do I have to look at county and tell him?
We should know, we
10?
spent a lot of time on it.
11.3. No, that's Weggy.
So that's just a comment.
Moan has, on that one parcel is 20.5.
So that seems to be a little much of a difficulty there if it's a big parcel.
I'll tell you, right in the northeast corner of lot 3, straddling the lot line with probably in our lot 3
I don't have it up there anymore.
is
Would you say?
pretty good sized wetland with
Right here.
cold water. They call it pond.
Oh, I see it on there. You've got it on your big map.
So
You're talking towards the back of that parcel?
yeah, right in the kind of northeast corner of lot 3. And it straddles the property line with probably there.
So they're scooting that driveway just to the north of that.
Shooting the driveway around it, because you can't have a driveway like we build a road.
Difficult. The reason I was questioning it is, does it leave them no other access? Moans.
Yeah, this is their only way in.
I was gonna say, it kind of messes it up.
Anyone else have any?
I just have one comment. I know the previous version of this board, most of this board on a previous concept lamented just another cul-de-sac being put in, and that we're just becoming a land of cul-de-sacs. Does that still hold true on this one?
This is a dead end.
That's a great discussion, so my discussion on 145th then is, what do we do with the condition improvements of that piece? If the new lots are coming out on there.
They're not coming out on, they're all coming off on 144.
All the new ones are gonna. come
All the
on
new ones are
144.
144.
We'll have 2 existings plus the easement that goes back to Mullins that crosses through Flowers. And I'm sitting there on Weggies.
Oh, I got disorientated thinking
Yep,
two
that's why.
lots with 145th.
No, that's
So,
why I'm sitting here.
going
on
back to
counties.
Going back to the piece where one of the lots is
40 acres.
zoned as preservation and the rest are not. You would also be looking for that to be modified as part of this concept, correct?
Yeah, otherwise it'd be like two zonings on lot two. I think from the Stantec memo we could deal with, but I think it'd be preferable.
Yeah,
Rezoned.
yeah, you can't have two zonings. Nick, is that something that we can do by motion, or do we have to have a public hearing to change the zoning on a parcel? We have to have a public hearing, so that's another thing we'll have to deal with. Is that something that you want to request from us to go forward? Because if you don't put that request in writing to us, we really can't approve a public hearing.
Yeah, we can get you something in writing.
So which lot again, it has two zonings on it, just refresh me? Lot two?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, right in school.
Is there a formal application for a rezone?
yep, it's online. Yep.
What's lot three zone then? Same as two?
No, I have, it's great.
Okay.
So it's only the, what we're showing in lot one, and lot two. The preservation residential zoning.
With a dark dash line there, Lori.
Yes.
It's coming up, that's the parcel line, doing that 6 acre parcel and the remainder,
Oh.
and that's also the line of the two zonings change.
Okay. Do you want to leave one as it is, or do you want to rezone 1, 2 also?
And we just want, whatever that parcel that's presently zoned as preservation residential, we want to rezone.
Oh, the existing.
residential.
The
So lot
existing,
1 and 2,
On here. it's
Yeah.
lot one.
But
okay,
it's really.
doesn't
just
it also
piece.
trail into
Exactly.
3 then at the
Piece.
north
Which-
side there?
I think bleeds a little over. into lot three.
I was just following the,
Oh, it's a lot line, doesn't necessarily follow.
it doesn't follow.
I was following the dotted dash line, and it looks like it goes through the very northern part where the wetland is in lot 3 as well.
And a little bit of lot 3 is
So-
on there,
Yeah, so you'd have to have,
Pardon me?
a little bit of lot 3 is in preservation too.
Yeah, yeah. It is,
so you would be asking for 1, 2, and 3 to be rezoned,
Before anything.
is part of the
Well, I think-
concept.
I think technically we're gonna ask for the 6 acre parcel.
Yes,
And right now it's not in lot.
True, so that would be your first move,
Yep.
yes. And then you could decide if you're gonna come in with a preliminary plat or what you're gonna do.
That's his driveway.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How are we gonna professionally protect the mown 66 feet through this whole thing?
They have an easement across this, so we really can't do anything to it.
So it's good.
It's good, I mean, our intention would just leave it the way it is, there's no reason to go back there and do anything.
All right, it kind of sounded dicey for a minute.
Well, it is a
Yeah.
little dicey
It doesn't
because,
transfer.
oh, go ahead, Nick.
Well, I
Go
was
ahead.
just looking at it on the GIS, so Moen actually accesses their property off of 145th Avenue.
Correct.
And where it, yeah, and when it turns and heads north, he continues to head east across the northern easement of this particular property. And so that easement has to stay, right? So
Great.
you just have to be comfortable with those two parcels having that easement across the northern part.
So 145th is our road, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem to have a smooth transition on that curve going into that 66-foot easement off of our road. I understand he's got the easement, but when you're, setting out lot 1 and 2 on this new design,
Actually, that, yeah.
we're kind of missing a corner in order to be able to tie that all together.
Have you staked that?
Haven't done any surveying on this yet.
Okay.
And if you look at the big parcel to the north, you've got 30 acres on that corner. Something might happen there too. You have a 30,
Do you know where your corner is
you have
up there?
you have 70 acres on the north side of that easement.
Raleigh had surveyed Scott. Purchased property, see where it is.
well, we can't hear what you're saying, so you're gonna have to come over to a microphone. I couldn't hear anything that you said. just scoot around here and turn that one on.
As far as the survey is concerned, Frawley's for selling the property, they had their survey done out there, so there are stakes out there for the corner markings that Scott purchased. I think it was 120 some acres. Frawley's continued to hang on to some of that property out towards the east side of theirs on 144th. So that, other than that, for what they have and what they're proposing, I'm not seeing anything staked out for that 66-foot easement. I know that was purchased or was set up by the Frawley family when Chris Hudacek bought the property before me. So I know if that's a potential where you're talking about future home building, I wouldn't want to landlock myself because there wouldn't be any other access point because there's a 40-acre parcel to the east of me. You got a number of acres to the north of me, and Scott doesn't plan on ever selling. I'm hoping that I die where I'm at. Might be next week, but it's just one of these things that it's puzzling to sit there and look at the possible development. But do we have the proposal with the easement in place, not squishing it down to 22 feet where it's just a dirt road going through for me? Or Steve had mentioned the last meeting for planning that there's an access point up to the farm field. Well, it's the elevations there. There's gonna be some significant movement of land and soil.
No, that's why I wanted you the opportunity to speak, was that there should be no hardship for you.
And I
For anybody
appreciate that.
else.
I just, and I'm not trying to stop Steve from doing what he'd like with his
And we
property.
aren't either. It's a
So,
case of putting cards on the table.
we need to work it out.
So the property at the north, the Weggy property, that property can be accessed off of 145th.
Correct.
It does not have to be accessed off the easement that goes into this property showing.
Yes.
Because their property can be all accessed off of 145th, all the way up to 150th. She has that ability to come in either way. This and another is a different matter, because this only has access to 144th.
And this is true.
And
Yeah.
currently it stands just fine.
I'm sorry, what?
And currently it stands at 66
6
feet
foot.
just fine.
Well, they put it in there because the board at the time, I'm sure, wanted to make sure that there was an ability to put a town road in there at some time. Obviously, it's difficult because when you look on this picture, you can see where the buildings are, which would make it difficult to subdivide that without coming off of someone else's road.
Subdividing the property I'm on.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not proposing I want anything to do with demoing my property, but if that were the case and you wanted to start parceling it out and put all these homes back there, I guess that probably we do doze everything in and start all fresh, but you do have to have an easement, you do have to have road conditions to properly access that, and similar to what he's looking at, I'd probably look at maybe 6, 7 homes to be developed there, which to me, unfortunately, I'm just gonna say it's ridiculous because I enjoy what I have and I'd like to maintain what I have, but I can't predict the future for Wiggy's. Marilyn's quite old right now, and what her son or whoever takes over that estate, I have no idea. And what will happen with the property to the east, that 40 acres that's out there, that's just north of Amex property.
right.
I know anything about the history of it. I appreciate it. I don't know, what the solution is. I guess you can include, what it looks like on this proposal. It looked like he's including the acreage as far as part of that easement. The easement's part of that. So I guess you'd have to modify that. I don't know. How does that work out?
Well, that's why this is at concept level, so this is a time when we kind of talk about these things. No decisions are made till they come in with a plat, but at least they're aware of what direction the board would wish them to take.
So I guess my question is on this 66 easement. That's technically coming through lots 2 and 3
And a little bit of one.
and a tiny bit of 1.
Right.
Although I don't see in 1 that it's as obstruction, there's not as much in there. I mean, I'm assuming that based on this design, it's basically making it excuse me, conforming for the way that the depth versus width goes, correct?
So my understanding so we've got the 3-acre lots, and yes, the 3 acres is including the easement. But we also are meeting the town's net project buildable area, and if you read that part of the ordinance, you exclude town road right of ways and steep slopes and wetlands and stuff, but you don't exclude driveway easements, they're private easements.
Do either of you two have any insight? No, you can't be shaking your head.
I think it's just, it's a driveway easement and the question is there ever in the future gonna be a desire for that to be a town road? It's not configured very well. To, line up with 145th Avenue without some additional
Land,
land.
yeah.
And, Doug makes a good point about the wetland, wetlands aren't necessarily completely insurmountable, but certainly not something that is easy to jump that hurdle and not popular either. So again, I just brought it up because it's 66 feet wide and it appears as though there was some thought as to why it might be 66 foot many years ago.
Is the 66 center road, 33 on each side?
Right?
Yeah. And not all roads are exactly in the center. I mean, I built one that's not because it just couldn't happen that way. So not all roads are built exactly in the center, but that's the standard. The other thing is I look at this and I don't want to let that 66-foot easement go because I do think that diminishes his value. But obviously, if something was going to be done here in the future, it would probably behoove us to look at, land bought from the Weggies to pull that in there in a better spot, obviously. If we allow that road to take place on the 66 feet, say something happens, he decides to subdivide. Now lots 1, 2, and 3 are no longer conforming. They will all be below 3 acres.
What about the concept of requiring the easement to be located on an outlot?
But he loses a lot by doing that.
Right, I understand,
Okay,
I understand.
and I'm fine with that. I would be fine with that, but he loses a lot.
And I'm not necessarily saying that's the way to do it, because obviously you lose acreage.
Yeah.
In your lot calculations, but if you think about it, in a lot of different places where you're dealing with kind of a similar issue, you leave that particular easement in an outlot, so then you're not worried about attachment to the other lots or traversing over the other lots. Now, that would require, it would probably require that one of the lots go away as part of the overall design, which is not necessarily the intention, but if you have concerns that that easement should remain and could potentially be a town road or, a town asset in the future, that would be one way to address it.
Anything from the rest of the board on this?
I'm gonna go that I feel that we need to address the access of tying 145th Avenue clearly to the 66-foot easement, which is already kind of making it through the wetlands back to that house already anyway, so I'm gonna just put it out, call it cul-de-sac, call it whatever you want to, but there doesn't appear to be enough of that 66-foot easement to make a clear and easy transition in the future to look at where driveways and roads are gonna come off, where to access those other big parcels the north of what we're trying to develop here tonight.
But access to the north is not Mr. Vader's issue.
I know it's not.
I mean, it's not his issue. That shouldn't be part of our.
It is when we're talking about the easement that impacts Mr. Vader and potentially that little bitty, it's not little in the big picture in money, but on that north corner between 1 and 2. Because that's where, because that's where that would go into that corner of the existing 145th Avenue.
145th, as far as township maintenance, they do turn around in Maryland Wiggie's property by the barn.
Right.
That's all plowed by them.
Right.
So anything beyond that that comes into where my fire post is, that drives down to mine. I don't know for cul-de-sac purposes, is there a requirement within the township or the county for emergency access, emergency vehicle turnaround, size of a cul-de-sac? Cause I know working with CenterPoint Energy and the gas issues we have through Edina and Bloomington, Edina has some very small cul-de-sacs. Is that something that they have to provide access for the emergency vehicles? I don't know if the fire marshal.
We don't, if we have a large enough spot in someone's yard like this to turn around, we do. 41st is no different. We've got them across town that way. Rail Drive, I mean, there's a lot of them that have been that way. So it's not a question of, are we gonna require someone, but obviously, if the Weggy property decided to develop, they would be responsible for whatever roads and cul-de-sac that would be needed on that property to develop it. And that's normally when we ask for those. So if someone develops, like Mr. Vader wants to develop, we're saying you gotta put a cul-de-sac in. Because it's not just serving like Weggies, they're serving one property back there. So by the time the trucks get back and turn around, they're just doing that and out they go. And that's how the town has handled it in the past. They've not required homeowners to construct those because those were put in place years before us with approval by the board.
I do know that we add more people, we all from experience, we add more people, you add more activity, you add more,
But we're not adding anything more to 145th.
right? It's gonna go
There's
up to
not, this
140.
does not add anything to that. There's not one more
Okay, then we
car.
could just take a larger chunk out of those north ones if need be in order to make that smooth transition to the 66-foot easement. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
no, I'm saying at that time, if he decides to develop, that's something he'll have to deal with, is to get that access. So whether he buys property from Weggy or whoever to make that work.
And if at that time, if that would create, they had to pull it, that property from, buy that property back from 1 and 2, now you have 2 substandard lots.
1, 2, and 3 will be non-conforming, not substandard, non-conforming.
Non-conforming, okay.
I think the only concern I had was based on the design of asking that 66-foot to stay as it is.
Yeah.
Would be you'd almost have to absorb lot 8 and shift everything down to keep them all conforming.
Yep.
And that would be why I asked if the lots as they are drawn here conform to the standards outside of that easement, which is what I was trying to get at.
Anything else from anybody on the board?
Mhm.
So I think if you want to rezone, that's the first thing you have to come in and do. And then you're gonna have to figure out how you want to handle that, easement. Obviously, it doesn't come into play until someone else divides, but that's an issue. It makes them non-conforming, so I agree with Nick. Is there any way to be creative here? Yes. All right, anything else from anyone? Otherwise, we'll let them go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Next up is a lot line adjustment for Richard Hall. Is that you, Doug? No.
I'm here to represent Ty, yeah.
Oh, you're here to represent Ty, okay.
I gave away my mantle.
You want, here. I think this is it. You've got it, so I can look at yours. I'll hand this to you.
Yeah, Ty said he would be having maps for us.
This is a lot line adjustment, and can we explain what Ty is attempting to do here?
And hard to see on 2 sheets, but,
Renewal sheets.
all the properties of a lot, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see a dashed line, so all of lot 5 is part of this part that we're talking about. You'll see a dashed line going through the north, quarter, lots 2, 3, 4. An easterly, westerly line, and that's the original property line of those folks that are on 126th Avenue.
I'm trying to get it up here, but go ahead.
So what's going on is the hall is gonna give land to lots 2, 3, and 4. The remaining of, and I don't remember exactly what was on there in that piece, is what he's gonna keep for himself.
It's a very weird lot. Can I just say that? It's a
Yeah.
very weird lot. So if you look up here, this is the lines. So the purple with the green, the blue, and the red was all one lot. Am I correct? And now he's adding land to those 3 lots. The green, the blue, and the red. And he's keeping the purple. It is a strange lot. How that ever ended up that way, I don't.
You know, the way with the curb lines and everything, obviously somebody was gonna put a road back there and do more lots, and it never happened, and I know I've had a number of people over the years come and look at this.
It's strange. Don't go there. Anyone have any questions for him?
Just what happens to the one remaining lot that's kind of out there with attached? Is there a lot that we end up with that's not attached to any other lot?
Yep,
The purple.
Second sheet, see lot 5.
Yeah. That's the purple up here.
That-
That's this one.
And it says he's gonna continue to hold on to it and it's, oh, they could take and access it off that other road.
Well, he's got 66 feet on the 126.
Yep.
Well, it goes all the way down to Old E, but you're familiar with that. It's, you know.
Yeah.
Mountain goat property, so you can't get down.
I kind of figured that's why we ended up with the curve was the topography,
Mm-hmm.
because I take Old E to get here.
Anyone have
And this is kind of more than what you usually see on line adjustments, is because those lots on 126 are part of a plat.
right?
And statutes make us add all the owner certificates and such, just as we do on a plat.
Yeah.
So, however, we have to come and get approval from the town and the county,
It's like the Shimon one that you did.
and like altering the boundaries of the plat.
Anyone have any other questions for him?
Is the only material that we have is what's in the Google Drive.
Yeah, those 6 documents. What did you want?
I didn't know if there's no hard copies that we were given.
Well, she has the original hard copy,
Right.
but it's in the Google Drive. That's what she has. What were you looking for?
I'm wondering if there were any paper copies for any of us or no.
No. Anything else for anyone? Anyone want to make a motion?
I have a question about the motion.
Sure.
In the motion, do we have to define each lot that we are adjusting?
You should.
You can. I would state that you're doing a lot line adjustment for the map as presented for Richard Hall. Because he's got his address on there and that's what it amounts to, because it's coming under that PID. It doesn't change until he gets through the county process, correct, Doug? Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. You're really approving the map as presented.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'll make them, you want to? Oh, okay, I'll make a motion to approve the lot line adjustment for Richard Hall using the certified map as presented.
Second.
any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, it passes. Thank you, thank you. It's good when I have you all up there in front, just go bing, bing, bing. Now it's up to Bill Aragoni. And you can sure use that easel if you want to, it's up to you. And you're coming in for a conditional use permit
Yes.
on for the barn church, so we'll let you present first and then we will listen to what the engineer has to say.
Well, we'd like to build a church on 140th on lot number 2, which you should have there. And it's about 3,000 square feet and it'll be built for an occupancy of 60 adults and 30 children. That would be the max. Currently we're at about 30 people, including children, in our attendance. So we meet on Sundays and have services and occasionally we plan on eating on Wednesday nights for children's services. This is a picture of that's what the building would look like.
The Alex Rome contract projects in the design, especially as it relates to the lots, the intent is to keep the existing contours and lot areas that's close to existing as possible, so the driveway access is parking lot that is placed behind the building. So from the roadway, you see primarily the building and kind of some of the natural grades there. Yeah.
So the big windows are facing north?
They would be facing south.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's on the north side of 140.
North side of 140th. That was the CSM we approved.
Yeah.
Yep.
This located on the plot street, did a lot of that CSM.
Yep. So there is a staff report in your drive. Did you want to speak to that?
Certainly. I will start with just some of the basic initial comments in the memo, and then there was a few questions at the Plan Commission meeting that are the subject of the updated highlighted areas in the memo that was updated this week and sent in. I think my recollection for the most part is that again, setting aside the questions from the Plan Commission, that the vast majority of the proposal met code. There are a few engineering comments regarding stormwater. And so, you know, those we would anticipate would be addressed during further review and discussion as this goes forward, and obviously a condition of the permit. There were a few items, however, that were talked about that are the subject of these updated parts of the memo. Let's see here what page we're on. It looks like we're on page, I think the first one is on page 6 of 13. It had to do with parking. The original staff report talked about requiring 1 space per 3 seats. In fact, the applicant did provide 1 space per 3 seats. However, there was a question as to whether that was actually the requirement or whether 1 space per 5 seats is what's in the code. And on page 6, Amanda indicated that, you know, when we review projects, we use the amended and scanned chapter 170 PDF because it's the most recent language. And so we do not usually reference E-code 360 because there's been changes and we want to make sure that we're looking at the latest and greatest language. As you can see below on page 7, you can see the screenshot of that page is led us to interpret 1 space per 3 seats. So that certainly might not actually be the case, but that's what it looked like. So, and again, the applicant did provide 1 space for 3. Anyways, so the second discussion point was chapter 81, design regulations. The initial look at this indicated, it was indicated in the memo that those did not apply to this development. We did take a look at that a little more closely after the discussion at the Plan Commission. And so for the first part of this on page 7, indicates that in chapter 170, 43B, the general standards, including traffic and parking only apply to business districts. So technically, those 170 standards do not apply to the project. The development is within a residential district, and based on chapter 181, some standards do apply depending on the use. So chapter 81's applicability is typically to intensive development. And, you know, and further looking at this, you know, we're agreeing that church would fall under public, civil, civic, and institutional. And so reviewing those standards, following amended comments to the memo, we talked about the modifications being made to the north elevation. At the time, it appeared to be a blank wall with limited architectural elements. My understanding is that has been revised.
Yeah, correct. We've further developed architectural drawings and exterior elevations, which in the poster board over there and here, we have windows on the north side, additional elements on the kind of the reconfigure of some of the elements on the entrance canopy and pergola area, and additional windows on that front side facing south. A little more architectural detail on the actual siding features.
So we took a look at this, we submitted this particular updated memo prior to getting those details. And so in talking with Amanda today, she believes that that comment is addressed with what they did.
So what did we determine how many parking spots are gonna be there?
The applicant has proposed 1 or 3 seats.
Okay, so I'm a layman, how many parking spots are gonna be there?
Was that 30?
30, correct.
30.
Cause there's room for 90.
Okay, and then
That's their occupancy.
they did. Are we ahead of or behind stormwater and ponds, and are we blacktopping it or gravel?
Currently, the civil drawings show blacktop. Intent is to leave it gravel. Both the drive entrance and parking area, just having a paved, accessible stall.
How is that gonna ride in the code?
Yeah, I would have to go back. I think we assumed it was gonna be paved. So we would have to go back and take a look at that specifically.
Cause I thought that was what the proposal was paving.
All I'm doing is having an educational conversation with you that everybody else has to blacktop.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna come along and say something. Just soon say it here.
And county will have to review the stormwater, correct?
Yes, and we're reviewing it also.
And you're reviewing also, yeah. Anton, did you have anything to add to this? While he's checking, is there anything else from the board members to ask? Go ahead.
I know a letter went out for adjacent landowner feedback. Did anybody receive?
Did you get anything back from
regarding-
adjacent? No, she did not. Anton's gonna come up to the microphone and then I'll ask if anyone is in the room to speak to it.
I think that Lee has basically covered everything. We did note that a permit would be required for the sign.
Yep.
And we discussed landscaping a little bit with them and felt that their plans there were fine.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the room that received a letter because you were an adjoining landowner to this conditional use permit and wish to speak? Anyone online that wishes to speak to it that received the letter?
So your neighbor to the west, is that the beautiful maroon shed?
But because of CSM, you actually have a lot on either side of this
Correct.
barn.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
acclimating.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone?
I do.
Oh, you had
So
something
we're
to-
talking, okay, so we've discussed the CSM. And we're on the agenda is the conditional use permit, and I realized that this was, conditional use permit was filled out in August 8th. And I think we need to have that updated a little bit because. We're really only issuing that conditional use permit for lot 2 and not the entire parcel, and our paperwork is referencing the entire parcel. Do we have a new
No.
PID for
No,
lot
not
2
yet.
yet?
Not yet, but it does say lot 2 right on the paperwork. It states lot 2 of that PID. He does not have PIDs yet because he's right on top of county. He hasn't gotten that through there yet.
Where are you seeing the lot?
Right here,
Under
state the
land-
nature for
land
your
use
request on lot 2 of newly approved CSM.
Is that on the August 8th paperwork?
Right there,
Right there.
right in the middle of the page.
You're looking at a different document.
Yeah,
Okay, that's why.
This is the conditional use permit.
she's got one too.
Oh, it's right there. Right there.
Walk over there and see if it's the same thing.
I'm going to. Are you kidding me? Right there. Conditional use permit for construction church on lot 2.
And just to clarify
It is
something,
there.
on the conditional use permit, that does say with a picture of the driveway and the parking lot, there's a note there that says edge of pavement. So I think that's where
Yeah.
the assumption was made that it was gonna be paved.
Okay. Anything else from you guys before we make a motion?
Yeah, I guess on the addressing payment, there are exceptions for leaving it unpaved gravel. Open to
So you would prefer for us to, you're asking us to let you leave it as gravel rather than asphalting it for the time being or forever?
Is this a new variance form then?
No, no. You're approving a conditional use, so you can approve whatever conditions you want on that. It's up to you guys whether you want to force them to put in a asphalt parking lot now, or you want to give them a year to do it. I know towns that, do extend that out because of the cost of improvements, but it's up to you
Well,
guys.
we're gonna break off for a second here. If we're on our own island from county. And we get to dictate
Yes,
blacktop or gravel, is that correct?
that's true.
Alright,
That's
So
true.
the other question I had was, I believe they have to renew the conditional use permit based on the language.
Do you
Yep.
want to speak to that?
Yep, that was one of the things that was also updated. Let me get to that part in the memo. So the recommendation was a 2-year renewal timeframe, and there was discussion about that as to where is that, where's that requirement? And the 2-year renewal timeframe is a staff recommendation based on the idea that the town revisits this development in the near future in the form of a renewal review to ensure that all site plan and architectural elements along with general operations are implemented as approved and there's no negative impact to public health, safety and welfare. It is only a recommendation as far as the time frame is concerned. However, a renewal time frame is required in some way in chapter 170-89B.
Yeah. Did you come up with any time frame on that? Was it 2 years your idea?
The 2 years came from Stantec.
Came from
We don't have
Stantec.
a particular feeling one way or the other.
Okay, all right. And were you under the impression that this is gonna be an asphalt parking lot?
I don't think that came up in discussion.
Okay.
It said edge of pavements on the thing, so there may have been an assumption by some members that it would be paved.
Yeah, that's the assumption I made in the meeting.
Right, right. So where does the board want to go on this?
I'm gonna stop the bus for just a minute.
Okay,
Are we setting ourselves up for something else over here? Because
I know.
I'm visioning this. So the next person that comes in here and puts up storage and says, I ain't blacktopping nothing.
right. I know
Are
what
we
you mean.
setting ourselves up for that?
Mhm.
Well,
like I said, there are other towns that do some timeframes on those things where they allow the building to get built, the land to settle for a year and then tell them they have to pave it in a year.
Okay,
That great big building that went out there in the town of Hudson, that huge plant. They got a year, they had it done in about 8 months, but they got themselves through a winter cycle. Just to make sure, because that's a huge parking lot.
I think that also becomes different because that would be, a lot of those things wouldn't necessarily come into the conditional use permit of someone building on residential.
Right.
Those, a lot of those would be put into the
okay,
zone.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that into perspective, okay.
So do you want me, does someone want to make a stab or do you want me to do it?
Before you start stabbing. So how do we plan to track and follow up on expiration dates on 2-year conditional use permits?
The office will have to start tracking those.
You hear that, Terry?
Yep.
I did.
Okay.
So commonly, you have a book of your conditional use
Yeah.
permits. And your administrative staff would have a spreadsheet to track when conditional use permits are coming up for review. Some of them, you know, maybe on annual review, some maybe every couple of years, but then that's, you use your planning staff and your administrative staff to track.
So you've seen these before as like an Excel spreadsheet perhaps that lists them all?
Yeah, I have a number of communities that keep all their CUPs in a binder. And track it.
Okay.
From outside of the scope, yes, they do that with me and it works great.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So I'm gonna ask, was the reason that the driveway was, or is being asked as gravel at this time just because of the size of the project itself? Or was the intent really for it to be gravel based on the design?
I think our intent was, it was gravel. I never caught that you know, that the note on the site plan. And I understand how everybody would have taken that as asphalt. We're not so tight to our budget that we couldn't do it, but it would be nice if we could wait a year and I'll accept whatever you decide.
So I have the right terminology, would that be a special exception or?
No,
what would
it's
be-
part of
what
the
would-
condition. It's part of the condition.
For a year.
So
Yeah.
I guess the question I could come back with then is you could approve the conditional use permit and then change Stan Tech's recommendation from 2 years to 1 year.
No,
Then
no,
we
that's to review the conditional use permit.
That's
That's-
So they can't modify it then.
Well, you can still do a 2-year review, but this would be a 1-year on the asphalt parking lot.
And we could just make that a part of the
Mhm.
actual motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because that's what conditional use permit means. You're making conditions.
Is it 1 year though for when we approve or 1 year? See what I'm saying? So if we approve it now and it's 1 year, you get moving.
Well, we can put a date in there. The date can be from the date they pull the building permit.
Or
Yes.
That's
occupancy?
normally what they do. Yes, sir.
That's a good point, date of the building permit.
Yeah. What did you want to say?
It depends on when the building permit is pulled, as far as the year, if that ends up being December
I
or
know.
whatever it is, you know, one option would be to make it a year from now. Actually, September 15th is a really nice date, or September 30th. Because it's still warm enough to get the paving done appropriately. You don't want to go into October if you can help it. So there's some just
Okay.
dates that actually work well with the practicality of the weather and the paving.
So on dates and talking about this, so. Would this building have, when this building is finished up? Is it considered an occupancy permit, just like a residence is?
Yeah, it's Todd Dolan considers this just like any other building that he reviews. And they will get an occupancy permit when it is completed,
so
like any other building, whether it's residential or commercial.
So in a perfect world, gentlemen, when would you like to break ground on this? When would you like to pull a building permit with the expectation of breaking ground?
Still yet this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, later. November, December of this year.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for William Aragoni for the Barn Church Incorporated on geez, I have to get those glasses in the right spot. 1382 Frog Pond Lane. Conditional upon these things. Conditioned upon the staff report that you meet all of the standards that they've set out there, that we will allow you 1 year until September 30th to complete the pavement asphalt on your parking lot. And that in 2 years from the date of this approval, we will have you come back in for a renewal of this conditional use permit. Is there a
Second.
Second, anything else anyone wants added?
Just the last quick question of, this hasn't been approved by county yet, correct?
No.
Yep,
No, because we have our own zoning, it has to go through us first.
but they haven't even done the subdivision yet.
No, they have to do their CSM yet too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that was my point, Teresa, that when I was trying to talk about giving them a year to get their blacktop, and when I asked about occupancy, that's what I was trying to get at, because we still have some things to get finished before they could pull a building permit, so you're gonna end up,
They could
be pretty tight for where that year.
They
is gonna
could, but
fall.
they can still pull a building permit on this property. Because they own the whole property. And then subdivide it after.
Don't worry about it.
It's fine, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye, opposed, it passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good luck,
Yep.
Bill.
Thank you.
All right, next on our list is work to be done or completed on Chapman Hills. I think we have some good news. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have done our final inspection of Chapman Hills, and all the punch list items have been completed. There has been one question from, I believe, probably a resident in the area regarding one of the ponds and the fact that it holds water. We are going to take another look at that closely, just to make sure that that is what the intent of the design was, as well as get the county to come out and review the stormwater appurtenances on this project as well, because they ultimately have jurisdiction along with the town on the stormwater parts of the project. So the main issues have been addressed, and we will follow up on this pond question.
Is there anyone that has any questions for Lee on that development? We wanted to make sure we got it done because there's been a change of ownership, so we want to make sure this is finished up and taken care of. So I think we're in a good spot.
so are we in a good spot on, the finances for, related to either of those names?
We still have a full letter of credit. They've never reduced it.
Okay,
So we're in a good spot. Anything else with Lee on that? Otherwise, we'll go to short-term rental. You had a short-term rental here for 1428 Hidden Oak Trail. Good idea, everybody, to send a registered letter because these people don't live here, and somehow this letter got sent around the country before it found its way to the right person. You talked to him today. Do you want to turn on your mic and just say briefly what's going on with this particular property?
Yeah, he has, everything.
Terry, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It's on.
It's on, you just need to.
You need-
Carry some voice like mine.
Everything is in order with his property, but he did have. Is that, here's the email?
I don't know if you put the email in there or
It's in
not.
the folder right here. They had a water test and it came up with a bit of. It says coliform bacteria.
Yeah.
So they need to disinfect the well and they're looking for somebody to take care of that for them. Everything else is good. They had all their paperwork in order, got their license, so everything else was good.
Their St. Croix County permit expired June of 2022.
They just got it.
They just got a new one.
And do they have a Wisconsin Department of Health license in there?
They should, yeah.
And that's the state.
This one's a county one.
That's a sanitary.
Maybe that's the one they're missing.
Okay, so their St. Croix County Department of Health one expired June 30th of 22. And you're saying you think you have another one from them?
That's the one I got today, so maybe didn't
Look
update
on
it.
your email.
Let's see.
There's been a lot of paperwork on this particular one.
Mhm. Let's see. Nothing here.
Yep. While she's looking for that. Oh, did you find it?
Well, you know what? He said they have a new license, but they sent me the same one. So I
Well,
don't
we
have
can
a copy.
approve this conditional upon him supplying the license. I don't want to put this on the next agenda if we don't have to.
I'll send him an email too.
I'll make a motion to approve the short-term rental application for Robert Gillespie at 1428 Hidden Oak Trail, New Richmond, conditional upon him giving us a new St. Croix County Department of Public Health permit. Is there a
Second for discussion.
Sure.
Can we also add to your motion, conditionally approved upon the well issue being taken care of as well?
That's the.
Or would that
county.
be the?
That's the county, so they won't give him that permit without
Okay.
it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it passes. The second one on here for the lack of response, we looked them up. They are no longer listed on either one of the short-term rental sites. So they did not, you can speak to that. They did not reply.
It went dark.
Yeah,
They went dark.
they never accepted their certified letter. So it is now going to be returned to us. They never signed for it, never got it. It's being held at the post office.
But they're no longer on either site. I don't know if you want to do anything or just let this ride out and we'll keep checking.
Were they still listed on, so they're not listed on any short-term rental sites anymore?
Nope.
So
You
perhaps
got
they've just given up on the rental business.
Yeah.
But they're still listed as on the property records as the owner of record.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, if we don't want to do anything on that, we'll go to major road work, the update on the Church Street project and pay request.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, for the Church Street project, we have in front of you pay request number 4. In the amount of $68,633.90. Just for reference, the total amount paid to date, including this request, is $581,584.96. And the original contract with the contractor is $967,807.46. So there is
Quite a bit to pay yet.
quite a bit to pay yet. Although one of the things that I'd like to do is give a little bit of a budget update for this project. We've been tracking the construction costs for the project, and we did have some items in the project to make sure if we had any rock excavation or things along those lines. And so right now we are tracking approximately the total construction amount. We're tracking probably going to be in the $90,000 to $100,000 less than the original contract. On the other hand, we are tracking high on the engineering inspection due to the fact that the original schedule had this project completed basically at the beginning of August. And now we are in the middle of September, and there's still work to be done. We've exceeded our budget this last month, and next week they're putting the wear course on, so the light is at the end of the tunnel. But there's still some work left to do to get this wrapped up. And so we've done an analysis, and we believe that we would need an additional $25,000 to finish out the project. Hopefully be a little less than that, but that would probably cover us.
So this is supposed to be done mid-August,
Beginning of August.
beginning of August. So we're a month and a half behind on this project, which obviously takes more review. You wanted to ask?
Yeah, I drove that project and I'm looking to be educated or reminded. So like Church Street, the whole one side of it don't have curb. What's up with that?
We only put curb where we needed it for drainage.
And our discussion all the time was that whole ditch.
Well, the design that is out there right now is the design that we discussed with the board and the Public Works Committee at the beginning of the project.
And you're saying that will stay through that storm sewer.
So how I understand is that big receiver that you put up front,
Yep.
east, let's talk. It goes under Church Street, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. I thought the plans had curb on both sides down Church Street. Because this is just me, that same hideous water path is still there.
Well, the design of the project includes catch basins that pick up the water on the other side of the street in the ditch.
Okay,
And so the storm sewer is there to pick up the water on the south side of Church. And if I remember correctly, I'd have to pull the plans out. I think there are a couple of spots where there's curb on the south side. Just again, to facilitate, the drainage. But, we did an analysis and a calculation and, we stand by the design and the storm sewer that's gonna get picked up in the ditch on that south side.
So I was there right after they finished laying down the blacktop driving by. And that was my first thought too, was where's the curb on the south side of Church Street? So I guess we're gonna have some rain and
We'll
might find out tonight.
well, I guess we'll find out. I guess I'm
But
kinda
I
upset
was in-
about,
I
I
was-
thought we agreed to curb.
I was in the same, I thought the same thing when I drove by that, and I didn't even know Chris was gonna bring it up.
Well,
Okay.
again, it's been designed to pick up the water.
You're the boss lady, what did you think we were getting?
I did not think we were doing curb and gutter across the whole thing. I thought it was pick and choose from them.
Well,
There's other
I'll
areas, yeah.
wait for the,
Yeah, we'll wait for
Alright.
it.
I knew we weren't gonna do curb on and gutter on the whole project, but I did expect it on Church on both sides, so we'll see.
And Lee, where are we on this loan, or not loan, I'm sorry, grant monies that we need to apply for the ravine? Can we apply for that now? Have we paid enough to be able to apply for that?
We'll take a look at that. I think we were originally thinking we would do that at the end of the project, but
Is the work completed and why? would
it
we
is not
wait?
completed.
The ravine, it's not.
There's probably punch list items, there's probably, some small amount of inspection left, and I think you want to
Okay.
capture that.
I'm
Alright.
gonna answer that then.
I just wanted to make sure where we were at that. I just don't want
Right.
that, I mean, it's $340,000, so
Right.
I don't want to lose track.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 4 for Stout Construction in the amount of $68,633.90. Is there a second?
second,
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that passes. And then I'll make another motion to approve additional funding to Stan Tech to finish out the review, or is that what I call it?
Inspection.
Inspection of this project.
To second,
Okay,
to amend, not to, you wanna put a 25,000 cap on it?
yeah, I can amend it to,
Otherwise, they'll have to come back.
amend it to not more than 25,000. And you're gonna second that? Lori?
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, it passes. And then the next thing on here is the maintenance project, and we have 23, and then below it is 22, so it's all yours.
So Madam Chair and members of the board, this pay request number 3 is number 3 and final. The project has been completed, the paperwork, lien waivers, et cetera, consent to sureties and whatnot have been submitted. The amount of this pay request is $26,257.77. Total paid to date, including this, would be $245,807.90. From the contract, let's see, where is the total contract? $247,283.90.
So you have a little held back yet.
No, this is just slightly under the.
Oh, it's under the budget,
Yep,
okay.
This is the final.
Anyone have any questions for him on that? Otherwise, the motion is I'll make the motion to approve the third and final pay request for Allied Blacktop in the amount of 26,257.77, and this is pay request 3.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, it passes. And then this second one underneath there is for the project from last year that had to be redone this year, and we had held money back due to the failure on Rolling Hills Trail. So go ahead, Lee.
Yes, this is also pay request number 3 and final for Farner Asphalt Sealers from the 2022 crack seal and seal coat project. The amount paid in this request, you may recall the money that was held back for Rolling Hills Trail is $32,250.44 with a total paid amount, final amount of $227,195.39. That contract was $238,230.91. So approximately $11,000 under budget.
Anyone have any questions about that? It looks good now that they redid it.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request 3 final for Farner Asphalt Sealers in the amount of 32,250.44. Is there a second?
Second.
Ooh, you get to pick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and it passes. Thank you. And then, that was Rolling Hills Trail Maintenance redo, and you're comfortable with everything that got done there, right?
Correct.
Okay. Update on the Flex Patch project for Valley View. If you saw, there was a separate check here for that project, and I'll let Chris talk to it. The Valley View.
So we completed it as best we can, drive up and down it, see what you think of it. The last block, the truck failed again, and I said, get it out of here, we're all done. The owner agreed, we tallied up and gonna pay him tonight for it, and we'll group together in October and evaluate it at the Public Works meeting and put a hopefully $1 to it per mile. And then evaluate if we want to do 6 miles next year with a better truck. That's my plan.
What is the, when you say a better truck, what's the difference in these trucks that are coming to us as opposed to what you're stating as a better truck?
I would give you the analogy of when you go get the tiller from the rental store, you got the one with the twine wrapped around it and one throttle cable kind of dangling, and they're like, you can use this one, all the good ones are out. And
Okay.
you just,
Are we able to quantify the savings on this project of what if we would have contracted out versus doing it in-house?
once I have them totaled, I'm gonna have Stantec quantify it for me.
Anything else on that? Anyone want?
Ask a ridiculous question.
There's nothing that is that ridiculous.
Oh, it
Go
might be.
ahead.
Is there anything where something like the existing equipment, like the tractor, could be utilized with rental equipment? Instead of risking this truck business that we've been having an issue with?
There is no units that would hook to a tractor. To be more educational about it, the truck is self-propelled. And then it has a secondary engine that drives the emulsion, drives the blower, and drives the rock. And
So-
I've had a discussion with the owner and he's well aware that I'd like to return with a better relationship and a better piece of equipment.
Is he gonna guarantee that for us next time or not?
The
The equipment?
I didn't pin that down, to be honest.
Okay. That's maybe something, if we just decide to go to that route, you'll have further discussion with
I
him.
think I'll get
Or
that.
another vendor?
Well, what's fun about that, there is,
Right,
There's just one guy.
yeah, it's actually quite unique. The guy is the one that sells them to the county. sells them to other counties, and he branched off on, hey, you wanna rent some of these things? So,
Well, I'll be curious to see if it was worth the headache that we endure.
well, to go into that perspective, the headache I feel was worth it. It's like managing every headache.
Mhm.
And then I think where it'll really shine is currently you can drive down it and it's starting to work into the pavement. And then where it'll really shine is next year when we fully seal coat it.
Mhm.
That's where myself and Public Works wants to be ahead of the next year's seal coating and do all this ourselves and get that aggregate driven in there, get the cracks sealed up. Following year, seal coated.
Yeah, I really like the idea. I was concerned at a certain point how frustrated it seems to be with the equipment. Didn't necessarily seem to be a process, it seemed to be what you had
It's-
access to.
It's the equipment, but for my profession, I see where it's. Why it happens.
Have you talked to anyone else who uses this equipment besides the village? Cause I would be curious, Troy uses it. And I would be curious what, you know, a different perspective.
Village of your North Hudson used
The
it?
village.
Well, that's where I
That's where he
educated
started
myself from.
Yeah,
I,
but
I'm
that,
gonna go outside of this for a minute. I don't think lots of municipalities are being leaders on their own stuff. They'll just hire it out, sub it out. I just learned of the great savings of it and knew we had the aptitude of our staff here to utilize it. And that's why I wanted to try it. And then now the only piece that I see, better equipment.
the reason I brought up Troy is that it is also a township rather than the village with city streets.
Yep.
And it might be worth having that talk with their workers to see how, because they were zipping around.
Yep.
I mean,
You're saying that Tom Troy is doing something similar to.
they
what
rent
we
the same
tried?
thing.
Okay.
They just got the better one, I bet.
Well, the way they were moving down the road, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The way that it kept moving down the road.
Huh? Yeah. Well, my son lives in Troy. That's why I get over there all the time. And I saw it one day and followed it
Well,
around. a
I'll,
little bit.
I'll swing through the shop and talk to them.
I just think it might be worth our while because city streets are different than town roads and how are they? How successful are they and how are they getting that piece of
Well,
equipment?
I look at when it was operating correctly,
Okay,
just like anything we all own, it was a beautiful thing
okay.
until the wheels fell off.
Which is never good
I was very proud of it, very proud of the operator.
until the wheels fell off and then that was a bad choice. Yeah,
And what's fun is it was nothing we could control.
right. So next thing up, if you want to speak to the repairs on the tractor and how that's going.
Another great subject. The tractor's back. Up and rocking and rolling, mowing the town for the fall. We're gonna be, we got one operator on there, we're gonna be taking another operator on educating that gentleman on mowing, so we'll have 2 shifts, you know, where they're staggered from one another every other day. So we should be able to close out the township for mowing. The tractor itself, came back from Diamond. I have not seen any transport costs, billing costs, fabbing costs. I'm assuming that they recognize through my discussion with them that, they should probably take care of it. I haven't had any other.
What, I guess I want you to let the board know that they didn't just replace or repair, they.
They re-engineered it.
That's what I would like you to tell the
Yep, so
board.
they re-engineered it like I had told them they should, and so they did.
And they replaced that arm?
Yep,
Yep, I just want the board to know that, because I know you know it and I know it, but
yep,
they
the
don't.
whole undercarriage that y'all went and evaluated is all refabbed. And then the main stick and knuckle,
Mhm.
the rest of it they reused.
Also, they, They actually redid how the boom was connecting to the unit. Okay, that's expensive.
It wasn't cheap. And then hauled to South Dakota and back.
That was the cheap part.
I know. Anything else for Chris on these two items? Thanks for doing that, Chris. I'm glad to see it. It's back and going.
Thank you, Chris.
Right away construction problems by the utility contractor. We have had a lot of, between XL and Northwest. There's been a lot of utilities going in the ground around here. I wasn't able to get around everything. I asked, Bob Marty to go out and inspect based on the permits. We used to have Mike Long always do that, and I've got Bob out running around looking. There's only one place that we have a problem is that they tore out a retention pond. And I've asked Stan Tech to take that on because I can't determine what it was at the time. I mean, I know what it was at
Where
the
was
time.
this at?
On 122nd, they tore out the retention pond down at the cul-de-sac. And now their pedestal's about this far out of the ground because it's eroding. I know.
Which? Okay,
So when that road was built, a retention pond was put off to the side of the cul-de-sac because the amount of water coming off of that. And it was going down to the pond and it was just ripping the hillside out. So county made us put in this retention pond, which was fine. It's operated well for 20 some years. And then they cut it wide open to put their pedestal at the south end of it rather than at the north end of it. And when they did it, they didn't put it back the same way. So now the water's screaming down the hill again. So I asked Stantec to come out and take a look and tell them what they need to do to restore it. And put it back the way it was, because it's operated fine for 20 years and now it's not.
Well, they're gonna do a horrible job of it, so you might as well tell them to add it, rip wrap it.
So they're gonna take care of it. Yeah. So we'll see.
Those guys, they do a worse job putting it together than.
I know. It's not good. If anyone else sees any problems on the right of way when you're out and about, please refer them to myself so I can let Bob know. But right now he's up to date on all the permits and the only ones that he's not reviewed is the newest and greatest from XL because they haven't started. They flagged, but they haven't started yet. So, but Northwest is all over the town, so he's been busy with them. Speeders on Trout Brook Road, it was brought to our attention that they are having some issues on Trout Brook Road and it was brought up at the Public Works meeting.
just for clarification, Trout Brook Road North.
North, I'm sorry, north.
Because that's a
There's-
very different road than Trout Brook.
Yeah, but they speed on south too, so, but.
That's true.
Okay,
Are you skipping the one up above on the Pine Tree Trail speed limit?
you've got an old agenda that's been taken off. They asked to have it removed.
Okay.
So
ahead.
at Public Works, we had a discussion on potentially putting down some professional staked in speed bumps. And do we have an answer on? Can we do that?
Well, I know that there's an example that the town chair had seen in another community or county or something. My concern about that is the speed limit on Trout Brook Road North is 55 miles an hour. And I would be very, very hard pressed to recommend speed bumps on a road with that speed. limit.
Well, this is a great discussion. I'm saying nobody's going around the corner at 55 and that's where I want to put them. Nowhere on the straightaway did I envision doing that.
Okay.
It's a case of
Down,
we're all adults. And I would like to place a couple sets of them there to potentially knock this down. So
Would you envision something like signs to alert people?
great, okay, from that point of view, I agree. In fact, I think we did have
no, we haven't put anything in because they had to come to the board.
oh,
Yeah,
but we did discuss
we
signs.
discussed it, yes.
Thank you.
City of New, I see City of New Richmond has flashing ones that say, tell you to slow down.
Yeah, so a lot
Do you know
of
what
people would
those
use
are?
those to speed up.
Do you know what
The-
those cost?
4,500.
Well,
Yeah, well,
here's my thoughts. Locks keep good people out, flashing signs keep good people slow.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay, so I'm looking for some speed bumps.
you know, someone said to me, many years ago that signage does not make good choices because people still don't obey them.
Yeah.
We had 3 accidents on
Oh.
Trout Brook Road and River Road that year of people blowing the stop sign on Trout Brook Road heading north, right into River Road, which why would you do that? And every one of them hit somebody. And I went to him and I said to the sheriff, what can I do? And he goes, you can't legislate good behavior with a sign. People will just ignore it.
I apologize. I was talking about kind of an alert sign that a speed bump was ahead, because if you're going 55 and it's raining and dark out, it's at least like nice to let someone know that the next 75
You
feet.
better hope your
They should-
Starbucks is empty.
Yeah, they should experience
Well, I'm telling you, the one I went over was low. It wasn't real tall. And it was only about that wide.
That's all.
And they were in sections. They weren't. So my husband could get his motorcycle between the sections, his wheels, but I have a trike, so I can't. But I was like, holy buckets, where did these come from? I was surprised and
So,
Well,
I think more concerning is Trout Brook Road
North.
north is 55 miles an hour. Is that?
because the old roads were all 55 and you have. to
Lee
do a
stands
study.
by that decision. Didn't you hear that in his
Well,
voice?
should
No.
be 75 in my world.
Yeah.
What I stand by and what I recommend is in concert with Wisconsin state statute.
Yeah.
And I did hand out some information tonight
Yes,
about that. There's a memo there and a table out of the statute that back from 2021, when we talked about this in detail the last
Yeah.
time. So there's a lot of good information there. For those who are even more motivated, there's a couple of transportation department guidelines over on the counter as well.
Oh, I got real educated with this with Bass Lake Road
Sure.
when that was all brought up.
yeah,
So, basically, a town road that is not posted is 55 statutorily. Whether it is a gravel road or a paved road, and that is not uncommon in other states as well as in Minnesota and other places as well. So that is not uncommon. As far as, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
As far as speed bumps on a curve, again, I'm gonna have a very difficult time with that because I believe that you are introducing a hazard to the drivers. And you can put a sign up, but if they come around that curve and the speed limit is 55 and the town has put a impediment on the road, I believe that can open us up to liability. Maybe the attorney has a thought about that, but there was another thing we talked about a couple of years ago when these road projects first started. Over at Tobin Trail, we talked about, how do we keep people from, driving from where they're not supposed to? And we came up with a whole bunch of ideas, but, at the end of the day, they ended up, the result would probably have been a hazard. And so that's just, I have a very hard time putting speed bumps on a 55-mile-per-hour road.
Can I just share with you, unless you had something you wanted to?
Nope, we'll wait.
There, I was driving through in Europe, and if you want to talk about an area that can legislate something to death. And they had tried to find another solution to speeding, which was creating this etching in the road that played a tune. As you drove over it, you only heard the tune correctly at the correct speed to drive on this road. People found it was more entertaining if they doubled the speed, because then it sounded like the music on twice as fast. There is nothing that seems to slow people down unless it's just so dangerous that it, well, if it were up to me, then you just put roundabouts every 450 feet and then they just can't go fast enough physically.
I really struggle with this particular road, this particular situation. I'm listening to you and I'm processing it. And if we walked away from this conversation, it would be homeowners on that street. Tough shit. Right? And I don't wanna stop at that. I don't see how we're gonna subject ourselves. I hear you, but those bumps are there to get your attention because obviously you're not.
You can. pull
Great
'em.
education,
No,
we
you
would
can
be
pull-
pulling them.
We pull them then. Cause they go in with big stakes. In gravel roads, they go in with the stakes and they pull them in the winter time, so they don't have to plow over them. Oh yeah, that would be hell to plow. But are you thinking about just putting one set of them before the curve?
Yeah,
mean, you
or,
wouldn't need
or,
another
or
set.
halfway across it.
No, I'm talking about across the road, but before the curve. South of the curve.
Placement is a great discussion. I was picturing them halfway through because let's say you drive back there and go. And then you go around the cul-de-sac and you're like, oh, I just witnessed driving over
Okay,
the speed bumps. I really don't think I'll get after it in my car, right?
yeah.
That's me.
So you're thinking one before and after? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, I'm right in the corner,
Oh, you're right in the corner.
across the
Yeah.
whole corner of it, right? I just looked at, as a community, let's try a set of these. The people up there are gonna definitely go, yeah, it works, no, it don't.
Well, here's the board. What do you want to do?
I agree, something needs to be done. I don't know, but I also agree with Lee. We can't put them in the middle of the curve going 55.
Right,
We have within our authority to lower the speed limit by 10 miles per hour to 45.
And we
correct?
decided that already.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, so I like that.
no, you decided that at Public Works, we still have to decide it here, yeah.
Great, but let's all get real. When you're having a good time, it don't matter what the speed limit says.
Correct, nothing will stop speed, that if
Well-
people want to speed, they're gonna speed.
I'm gonna just share this little story is River Road dropped speed from 55 to 45, what? 17 years ago?
Yeah,
People still go 55 down that road and it's posted about every 600 feet.
here's my hand up.
More than that.
Yeah, so people are gonna drive what they're gonna drive.
In fact, if you're going too slow, that they have a
Mhm.
whole nother lane to go around you.
If we go the speed bump route, yeah, it's gotta be before and after the curve.
Yes. I don't think it can be on the curve. I think
I
that's
think
too
that's just-
dangerous.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're getting somewhere. So then, next step, you got a site where I can get a couple of these, or am I on my own?
I would have to do that research, and I would just make a further comment for your consideration. While I cannot recommend that action, I would strongly advise if you do choose to put those in, that they get very well signed.
Yeah,
Advanced signing at
Bump
the
ahead.
speed bump,
yeah. Bump ahead, bump.
Hey,
you know,
So
we're
maybe an
into that.
advisory speed limit,
Yeah.
attached to those.
I'm going to ask,
Signs in stock.
I don't think so. We don't have any bump signs in stock, do we?
It's just
Just
a phone
one.
call away with Bob.
it's
Yeah.
always a phone call away. Nick, I'm gonna ask this is, in these situations where we are going to essentially change the road structure that could be considered a hazard if someone gets hurt, what liability may the township experience? And what do we need to mitigate that kind of liability?
Well, typically when you see a different type of traffic control, you see signage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, when it's a stop sign, or something of that nature, you see advanced signage that says something to the effect of new traffic calming measure, whatever, or you see flags.
Yeah.
I would recommend both. I do have concern about speed and adding speed bumps. That's Lee's comments should be well taken, and if you're going 55 and you're launching yourself over speed bumps, it's got the potential not only to do damage to your vehicle, but also to surprise a driver. And yeah, it's gonna wake you up. But chances are, if you're going that fast over speed bumps and then you fishtail, that's an issue. So signage is a minimum, flags a minimum. But understand that inherently, yes, the desire is to slow folks down, but we want to do it knowing full well that if people aren't paying attention, it could have an impact. And what's that liability? Well, it depends on how well we sign it and how well we flag it. If we just stick these things out there and don't tell anybody or warn anybody, well, that's a problem. If our signage is very clear, then it's probably their issue. It's probably not our issue. But at the same time, we don't want negative impacts regardless of whether it's our issue.
And my only other concern is if the residents come back to us and say, you guys put these in here and that absolutely drives me nuts, or, you know, we get complaints. I'm just trying to bring up everything before we get.
We've had that discussion, and
mile
that's
in.
great, because I actually drew a line down the middle of the, where'd you put these things out here? There's nothing wrong with doing it. I live back there and gotta drive over, my coffee's dumping all over.
Yep.
The next door neighbor who came here with a concern, he's happy, right?
Yep.
And the other thing that is missing is you can't go 55 around that corner.
Right.
Okay? Know the corner to talk about the corner, you can't go 55 around the corner. So I have no problem with lowering the speed, signing it correctly,
Our favorite company, Uline, has them.
great. So, and
Wouldn't it be?
that's what I wanna try.
Ask first.
Yeah, and I agree with you. If it 50% is gonna hate it, 50% is gonna love it. I'll always err on the side of safety and what's best for.
And my only concern with saying that is the 50% who hate it are 90% louder than the 50% who love it. And it's just been a
You know what?
universal
It'll be a
experience.
seasonal speed bump thing. We'll.
So let us
It's
back up
involved.
here. I don't see necessarily the need to put it on both sides of that curve, because most of the issues happening are from the south to the north. So why wouldn't you put it?
Coming away from the
this side?
cul-de-sac.
From Chalkbrook?
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
From the south to the north is where the problem is, as they're making that turn to the east.
okay.
Because they're going off the road, they're taking out the fences, they're taking.
Is that
out
what
the-
they're doing?
One of it.
Would you come up to the,
Well,
Sure.
come
If
on
you
up
guys
to the
wanna have-
microphone. So if we're
okay.
talking events, I'm trying to decide, should we be putting one set of speed bumps prior to the curve? Or do we actually need to spend the money on two sets, which means two sets of signage too?
I agree with two sets
And
of
I'm
signs.
thinking, can we get by with just one speed bump across it? With the signage, because these things are $200 a piece and they are 6 foot wide,
so,
long.
So is the sign to it.
so can
And
I,
they're signed to 200. So go ahead, we'll let you talk quick.
can I get your name and then,
Sure. My name is Nicole Agard. I live on 1173 Sharpbrook North.
And tell us about the accidents, because I understood that there was an accident on that corner more than once taking the fence out.
Nicole, can you tell us, so we're all clear? On your road is a big L.
Correct.
Where do you live from the curb? Are you east of the curb? Are you north of the curb?
I'm south of the curb. So I'm right just after the horse boarding.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
So yes, there has been repeated accidents with the vineyard fence.
Mhm.
I can't speak to that because I don't know the duration of time since they've been there and what has actually happened. My husband and I, we've been there for 6 years now. I can talk about the speeding. The day and time isn't really affected because the behavior still happens. Like
Yeah.
speeding is speeding. But a lot of times what I'm noticing is that you have a draw because it is a gravel road, right? That's fun, right? Duke's a hazard. You have an incline, you have a curve. Like, let's be honest, like, and I don't know how our road is getting out with people, because it's not just younger people. I've seen, my age and older, and it's just kind of like, let's do this. And it's just kind of like, what is going on? I have two boys that go to Bolton. They love to play outside, but my experience is in the wintertime, I've had cars parked on the road in front of my driveway, engines not running. And I'm just like by myself with my son, I'm like, I'm not getting out, like, I'm just sitting back here. I flash my brights, engine's not coming in. And then this person's trying to wave me past, I'm like, I'm not going in front of you, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So then I just called the non-emergency.
Yeah.
And that's happened a couple of times, but it just seems like you have such a big draw with the incline, the gravel road and the curve.
Yep.
And I don't, the speed bumps, I would love to see what they actually look like. I know that there's a lot of horse trailers coming in and out. That's another issue in regards to like emergency care too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But these would be further down.
the placement would be up at the corner.
That's just the ones that you're talking about.
Yes.
I would,
Well, he was talking about
our
one,
discussion as Public Works was the placement of any speed bumps will be in that corner, not the length of Trout Brook North.
The only thing I worry about with like the liability if it's dark and whoever is making an unsafe and unhealthy decision, if they're doing that, that's the only thing I worry about.
and they're making those decisions now by taking out those fences and mailboxes down at that end.
Yeah.
Because they're taking out both. The fences have been hit a couple of times this last year, 2 years. And I know the mailboxes have been taken out at least once, if not twice.
One of the people down there put a concrete fence or a mailbox in just to stop people from hitting it.
Yep.
It did put one in.
Well, they tried to, till it really got smacked up.
This is just me, the pieces of this is that we should try to do something for the concerned people there. And I look at it as I'm hearing the speed, I'm hearing about the sign, makes all the sense. It's no different in when you have speed bumps in a grocery store parking lot, they're trying to tell you something. Right? They're trying to
So
slow you down, right?
without beating the dead horse, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Oh, no, I was gonna ask Lee, you voiced your concern about the speed bumps. So what's a solution then to the problem?
Glad you
Oh.
asked.
What's that?
I'm glad he asked that question.
You didn't wanna tell it on your own or what?
Well, I didn't have a chance yet.
Okay,
And this is not an answer that is gonna really help people feel better,
Great.
unfortunately.
okay.
But you know, I've been an engineer for 30 years. And the issue that we all have in front of us is over the last few decades, people's care and concern about people other than themselves when they're driving has completely deteriorated. This is completely about behavior. It's completely about the choice to drive in a way that you're not thinking about other people's safety. That is the issue that is in front of us. The question for engineers and others is, you know, how and what can you do to, in spite of people's full conscious decisions to make bad choices, what can we do to help mitigate that? And there are very limited options, unfortunately. You know, you talk about speed bumps in grocery store parking lots. Absolutely, but in a grocery store parking lot, you know, you're trying to keep people going 10 or 15 instead of 20 or 25, right? So in that application, you know, it works and it makes sense. You know, in Minneapolis, where the speed limit on the street is 25, you know, they put what are called in speed humps, which are basically extended speed bumps. You know, as many of you may or may not be aware, and certainly I only know this from remembering from, you know, more than 3 decades ago, but going over a speed bump fast is easier than going over it slow. You know, you let your car suspension take it and you can still go fast. You know, speed humps are another thing. But again, they're not for roads that have high speeds. So that is in a nutshell the problem. And you know, in this situation, it's really, really difficult. Especially because I'm sure that the people that live there, you know, I would hope, you know, are driving reasonably. We do find in many neighborhoods that the people who are driving unreasonably are the ones who live there. Not talking about this neighborhood, but other ones that I've been involved with. And it's, you know, I mean, we talk about putting up children at play signs in these neighborhoods, you know, and it's the people in the neighborhood who are speeding and the people who know that there's kids there. So they don't really do any good, and that's why I just, with the speed and the conditions on a gravel road, I can't recommend speed bumps, like I mentioned before. And as far as any details on how to mitigate the town's liability, I probably can't even really speak to that.
So here's my last 2 cents on this. The only issue I have with ordering a speed bump for this road. If someone wants to go over to 55, have at it. My bigger concern is because it's a temporary speed bump. Someone's gonna come in there, pull it up and take it right off the edge of the road and keep going.
Maybe.
And then we're gonna end up with a ripped up temporary speed bump that we can't do a lot with.
These,
That's
yeah.
all my concern is.
And these speed bumps, if we put one set in across the road with signage on either side, you're looking about $1,600 to $1,800. That's what the cost is.
All the speeding is on the corner.
Well, because they're flying off the corner into the fence and the mailboxes. I come back to the other thing that we talked about at that meeting. We talked about putting up a fake camera with a sign that says this road is electronically monitored.
We could do that.
Because some of the residents do have monitoring capabilities on the road. And I'm wondering if that's a cheaper way to first start with that and see if
Yeah,
it
we can
tones
do
it
that.
down before we spend this money. That's
fine.
a suggestion. I don't know.
Stop at Harbor Freight and get.
A fake camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I get them from.
I'm fine with that.
I won't support anything that the town engineer does not approve of. So that's pretty much where I stand.
Okay. Where are you on just doing a fake camera and Nick, is that something we could try?
Yeah, I don't see any harm in doing it.
Okay.
It's not. Other than we're announcing it here at a public meeting, right? So.
Right.
kinda-
It's out
Yes,
there
but
now.
how many of
But
those hoodlums who go and do
Well,
this? The jerks that we're talking about ain't watching
Oh,
this.
To move this along, I'm gonna make a motion that we install a fake camera and a sign that says this road is electronically monitored. And see if that helps.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, it passes. We'll see what happens. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Kara, yes? Go ahead.
What would be the harm more than speed limit for 45?
Oh, we were gonna make that motion.
go ahead. We did.
They did it,
Public Works.
Yeah.
Public
go ahead.
Works. You wanted to raise your finger, yes?
Just a reminder that the speed limit can be lowered, but an engineering traffic study has to be performed as part of that.
I thought 10 miles an hour didn't matter.
Well, if you pick up the sheet,
It doesn't go before the state.
nope. No, it does not have to, it does not have to go before the state if you're lowering it by 10 miles per hour or less. But as it says on the bottom of this document that I said, all speed limit changes shall be based on a traffic engineering study, including modifications allowed under state statute.
I did it.
Oh, that's back here. So
So,
that's a shell in the state law. So we'll have to take another look at that.
Does our traffic counter pick up how fast people are going?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can put the traffic counter out there.
Yeah, that's. We'll do
Oh, that should be interesting.
Yeah, let's put it out there and see what happens. You
Yeah.
can call Mark and ask him to do that.
Do it.
Okay.
They'll have fun.
So are you gonna?
No, we're gonna have to go through a process and we're gonna have to decide if we're gonna go through that process.
And one of the things we'll have to do, and we should know this already, is what's a hard number for what does traffic study count?
15,000.
It's a lot,
I know.
but we need that information and then we need to know what
Yeah.
document, what does that document, what is someone's?
I can bring that
that's had
back
a
next
traffic-
time.
Someone
Yeah.
that's had a traffic study done for that purpose? What does that document look like, so we all have a sample of that?
so
Okay.
just so you know, on the other side of that chart, it lays out all the things that have to happen during that study.
It's a lot.
You know, I'm thoroughly upset about this, so I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna challenge. If we lower it down to 45 on our own, who's coming to paddle us? You're our attorney. I see people doing this all the time and I know they ain't doing a traffic, but
I suppose it's no different than
Well,
who
nobody's,
enforces anything.
nobody's coming to penalty, but that's the process, right? So.
Well, there is one other potential outcome that could occur, and this has happened in other communities that I've actually been involved with where this happened. But if you put the speed limit at 45 without the proper documentation, and somebody is out there and they get caught going 55 or whatever, and they are aware of that situation, then they can go and have that ticket thrown out because it wasn't properly set.
Here's the other thing I would say too, though, is that we cannot be inconsistent in which procedures we choose to follow. Right? I mean,
that's why you're an attorney, you're teaching me something.
Right, and I'm not saying that the likelihood of Lee's scenario is high. It could happen, it could not happen, you know, it's an issue, but what I get concerned about is folks who sit around this table and who may sit around this table in the future saying, well, we didn't like it that time, so we don't like the statute this time, we're just not gonna follow it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where we have to be very consistent, where there is statutory guidance and statutory requirement that, you know, if we're gonna make a move that requires certain steps in a process, that we have to follow those.
Well, and especially when we're a body that enforces ordinances, and if we're applying that against a business and saying you need a permit for this thing, then what high ground do we have if we're cutting corners as well? Because then they're just gonna say the same thing. Well, you choose not to follow some of the rules, so why am I not doing the right thing here? So again,
I think the frustration is more of the 15,000.
Right, absolutely. Nobody wants to spend the 15 on a traffic
Yeah.
study and, but I'm just saying, I would not go down that road.
You know, I think that, I've been on the town board and we've looked at speed limit 10 mile an hour to 45. It's a number of driveways within a certain length. You know, certain length of the road. There are 13 houses on that road. And of those 13 houses, there are 11 small children, there are 11 children living on that road. So there's a danger to those children and walkers, any other walkers on the road. There'll soon be another child born here, maybe it's already happened here, they're not here tonight. That's 12. So, you know, you have to think of danger to life, to people that live on the road. And I don't think there's anybody on the road that would object to it being more than 45 miles an hour. Another thing is, there are cars parking late at night down by the cul-de-sac in a group of cars, like more than one car. And some residents feel that there might be a drug deal going on.
And they should call the sheriff's office.
Okay, that's, you know, I've heard that. But the
Absolutely.
thing is, people are concerned and, the town has its own zoning. And, so you should be monitoring the roads where you got a problem.
We don't have law enforcement.
We do that in Troy.
I get that, but we also have a county sheriff's department that is understaffed. They're not gonna be able to sit down there. That's why they're asking us to make that phone call to them so they can show up as needed. They're not gonna be able to park a cruiser down there and watch what happens. It's no different than all the drug deals that were going on up here until we put up the signs and put the cameras up that said this campus is electronically monitored. It stopped because the sheriff, even though he's going by here all the time, still could not get on top of it.
Well, and if I could just clarify too, Teresa, just because the town has zoning does not mean that it controls law enforcement, right? We don't have our own law enforcement, and so that has to go to the county. Zoning is use. Zoning is the use of property, so it's a different concept.
Right.
You know, down in Troy, where I currently live, I have a lot of North Carolina. I'm really concerned about people parking at night on that road and me building a house there and being back in the woods. So what Troy does is they pay about $18 $100 a month for extra monitoring of the roads. And it seems to work because what we have done is, they monitor the roads when there's a problem, certain time of the day. We have speeders too, it's people coming home from work. So weekdays, where there's more accidents occur and where there's more concern, we have monitoring. Do we have any monitoring here?
So you're sharing with me that St. Croix County is contracted with Troy
Right,
for a little bit more money
right,
to hang around down there a little more.
about $85 and.
Right, and we've attempted to contract with them also, but they're short-staffed.
Well.
And we've
Because you got
attempted, they got them, but they got them before us. We attempted to contract with them 3 years ago and have not been able to get them to come forth because of their staffing issues. I mean, it's unfortunate. But like I say, if that's what's going on down there, you have to call the sheriff's office. You have to make that call and get somebody out there. They will come. They will come. They came out on Perch Lake when we had all those problems out there. They come. It's not like they're gonna ignore us up here.
Do you currently pay for extra hours on monitoring?
No, because we don't have a contract with them.
Well,
I
you
think-
intend to do that.
Well, back to that,
Absolutely.
they're understaffed.
Yeah, I think the point that the chair was trying to make was we attempted it and they declined the contract because they do not have the staff to fill it. And there's nothing that this entity as a municipality could do to change the staffing at the county.
I remember it well. I went out and met with the sheriff, got all the paperwork all lined up, all that happy stuff. And he sat and explained to us the detriment and weight that he's under, just trying to do it, their career, just trying to do their job.
And like I said, he agreed to come when called, but
Yeah.
they cannot be out here.
Yep.
And until that changes, we are between a rock and a hard place on that.
Ma'am, would you like
Yes.
to come up
I
here?
just want to make a comment. The other portions have a very similar issue, and we just kept calling and calling and calling.
Yeah.
And they could come because they knew we would call, and so we just.
Yep.
The sheriff would respond.
Thank you.
About getting there.
Yep,
But we had to call every time we had neighbors watching.
yeah.
And pretty soon, the word got out, so go to Orchard, they call on you.
Well, how I did it on my dead end road is I get the high powered flashlights and go out there and shine them and they move. But that's not always the smartest thing to do, as my husband said at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I
But-
don't know that I would advise that
Yeah,
as
no
a
one
solution
advises
to
it.
said problem.
No. Okay, can we move on from this then? All right, we're gonna move
Are you
on.
gonna consider the process?
We'll bring it back to the board next month and see if they want to consider that process.
Of lowering it. to
Yeah,
45.
we'll see if they want to do that. On to hiring a tractor driver. You saw his application. Does anyone have any questions regarding him?
So I can
It
share,
was on the counter. Here, if you want to pass that down to her.
so I can share with the rest of the board here that John Kelly is another individual that I had found to operate the tractor. He's got a mechanical aptitude, good understanding of what needs to be done. I feel that he's gonna represent us correctly. That's about it.
Anyone have any questions on him? He did pass the background check. Anyone want to make that motion? And we need to have, before we do. What's our per hour that we're paying? Hmm.
25 to start, 28 after 30.
Yeah, because Dawson's at 28, so 25 to start. Go ahead.
I make a motion to hire our new tractor driver, John Kelly, at a rate of $25 an hour for the first 30 days. After 30 days with good operation of the tractor, $28 an hour,
And subject to a drug test.
and subject to a drug test.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have to do drug tests on anyone who operates equipment.
I
I
forgot about
almost
that.
forgot that. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We welcome him on board. On to the interchange planning study. Go ahead.
Do they still have to go through an employee review to get that extra money, like?
Right, because Chris takes care of that.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering.
Yeah, we've given
Yeah,
Chris,
we had that problem with the.
I know, Chris is overseeing. Yeah. Chris is taking that on. We gave that to him, I don't know, what, a year ago, Chris?
Yeah.
Yep. So the interchange planning study.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, just an update on that. The draft of that market study and first potential concept is just about complete. And so I would ask or inquire as to whether how the board would like to see that, if there's a workshop coming up or a meeting where more time could be allocated to kind of go through and have Phil Carlson here to take you through what the work they've done.
I'm not sure we can do it next week. On the 19th, but maybe we could do it at the October meeting. That workshop, that budget workshop that night.
Which
That would
what's
be
the
the
date on that?
21st. No, I'm sorry, that's the hearing. Wrong date, just a minute. I don't get my
And
calendar.
why wouldn't that be on a regular town board meeting night?
Because of the time it's gonna take. There's gonna be a lot of discussion. We don't have to approve it that night, but we can have that discussion.
And part of the process is to get feedback and create a couple of more
Right.
concepts.
Yeah,
Do you have in your notes when Phil was here the last time and gave us all that information?
I'd have to look that up.
'Cause it
So the
seems like
next-
A while ago.
It
The
was a
next-
while ago.
budget meeting after that, our budget is October 17th. How about if we do it that night?
Okay, I'll
Okay,
get back
and
to
see
you
if
on
Phil,
Phil's.
see if Phil can do
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then on to Parks and Trails. Parks, Trails and Recreation. Who wants to step up to the microphone? Who's gonna be the happy person that finally gets out of their seat, all right? Welcome, Pat.
Hi. I'm gonna talk first about the fall festival. Right now, I've spent the week calling the different groups that have decided to come and be part of the fall festival. We have everything from tractors to Family of Christ is having a bake sale. JNS is gonna be here selling mums. The Master Gardeners are gonna be selling plants. The Scouts are gonna do a lunch. And they'll have on that day, we have a scavenger hunt for the children. Let's see, Holton School will be represented, their parent committee, their association will be here. Let's see, this indoor area will be for history. We have Carol McConaughey, who's one of our longtime residents, and also Lucille Prescott are going to be here, and Mark Simpson will also be here, kind of running the show that day. I will be bringing all of the barricades tomorrow night, so we'll get those up so that we don't have people park in this central area here, that we
Right.
don't are allowed in this area unless just to drop off something and immediately head out, so we'll get those up. I'd like to thank Terry and her staff that did such a good job. They made up some signs for us and stuff, so that we could put on the barricades and get those out there. We have additional parking at the church. That's been okay. Let's see, Kareem will have information on football there. Nina did a temporary map for the town prairie where we're having the scavenger hunt. And we'll be handing those out so that they can go around and look for things and get a prize. Let's see, we also have, what else do we have? We have women selling candies. We have people selling that are gonna be there to sell jams and jellies. Our two jewelry making groups are not there because of the death in the family, so. But we have a lots going on and we're just getting kind of the final things taken care of. Any questions?
Are you doing the sign sale?
So great discussion, so I maybe missed it, so we're talking here. I was gonna put up the Public Works use signs over by the pavilion and kind of lay them over there. And have Lori sell them if there's any interest in, is anybody tying up the pavilion area?
Well, the pavilion, we were gonna leave open for people that are getting their lunches and then wanna sit down.
So
in
that'll-
the pavilion
that'll
and
work
whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure that we can.
Oh, yeah, cause I was just picturing putting them against the post.
Right.
No. that's
So-
not a problem.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we just wanted the tables there.
Yeah.
So that,
No, that's
so
fine.
far, it's supposed to be nice. We're supposed to get our rain tonight.
Hopefully.
And then at maybe late afternoon on Saturday, but we should be done by then. So I think.
Okay.
That's where we are. with
Great.
everything going on.
Yeah.
And please tell your friends, we'd like to get people here. We've got a lot of people that are bringing their goods that they produce and make and.
And you have a mic-
Too, we're having maybe a couple times.
And you have a microchip clinic too, right?
Pardon?
Microchip
Yo,
clinic.
yes.
dedicated is doing that.
Yes, Daryl's coming to, talk about the microchipping the animals and stuff, and 4-H's are gonna be here with the animals, and I think we are gonna get a miniature horse here, so that's a big thing.
And
So,
the outdoor restrooms are set for that. I just want to make sure they're looking okay.
I checked them
Okay.
the other day, but I will check them again. tomorrow
Okay.
To make sure. So-
Anyone have any questions for her on the fall festival? Thank you so much for all your work. I'll see you on Saturday. I'm actually in town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, thank you for stepping to the plate and picking all this up.
Yes.
You've done a good job.
So
Fab.
update on the playground, Mark
Yes.
Panas is the one who's kind of taking charge of that from our community, and he is not here tonight, he is out of town, so.
So I'll give you guys a little bit of an update so you can see that we started digging over there and then a few peers had recommended that I stay away from making a big mess till after the fall festival. So after the fall festival, you'll see a bigger mess over there and we'll get going on putting it up.
Do we need to tape that off at all? Is it dangerous for any kids?
Nope, it's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
Good.
Whether it's still in there, the state's sitting, I think we should.
If the stakes get moved or bumped or whatever, but that was us preliminarily starting.
Well, I think Nina said that she had some tape she's gonna bring some, because I think.
Okay.
We found to mark it off just so that kids don't trip and fall. on the
Okay,
stage.
that's fine.
We'll err on the side of caution for that.
You want
Perfect.
the stakes marked with marking paint? So that if they do get knocked out, we know where to put them back in? You're not worried about.
No, the ribbon's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Then I think the next thing on. the
Is a
list
sign.
Was, signs, that is on our agenda on our next park and rec meeting to go over, because if we wanna get signs, installation of signs, I believe we have to go to the county to get them.
No, this is, first of all, this is the sign, trail sign for the town park. That's what's on here, and this is
Yeah,
what
that's right.
Nina has brought forth, and the third picture. Let me see if I can share this.
Yeah.
I know Nina can talk about it. There you go. Let me get it up here.
See, it,
Here, just a second.
the idea is the same thing we did at the preserve. Here by the bench we have here, we'll make a kiosk out of it. We can
There you
use the
go.
map. Exactly, and that is a map we're going to have. Similar, the idea is the similar, with colors of the trails. And this time we were able to put the distance.
No.
And,
Wrong way,
there's a
sorry.
post, like in the preserve, with some arrows, different colors, and with some letters, if it's red, so the blind people can see it's red, if it's blue, will be a B. So that's it, and the cost for that, what we hope to, that will approve is less than $1,000.
Okay,
The other one was around 1,500.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
much that we have less material.
so it's gonna look. Well, maybe I can bring it up here. It's gonna look like this.
Yeah.
Anyone want to make that motion?
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the kiosk for the park.
The material is for all the signage for the park, because there's the posts and signs on the posts.
So it's a kiosk and the post.
So
For
it's
the
not-
kiosk and the posts and essential materials.
All right.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it passes. So the next thing up is the outdoor rec plan. Now, I understand that that has been sent off to Stantec to review again. Is this? So it's before us tonight because there's $400, as I understand it, left in that budget, which I don't know that that's enough to review this outdoor rec plan. Where are we on this? If it gets reviewed by Stantec, is the park committee gonna just approve it? Or are you gonna look at more changes to it? Because I guess if you're gonna look at more changes, I'm concerned about having this go through Stantec again until you're done, but you can let me know where you're all at.
Well, the last time I talked to Janet Lindstrom, she said our changes were done from the Parks Committee, so. Depending on, you know, if Stantec comes up with something that's something grave that we need to change, you know, that type of thing, or something way out of line, we didn't want to change it. But at this point, it was my understanding that it's not coming back to our committee for another review, a total review. At this point, we want to get it moved on.
So I was trying to follow along on emails that I was able to read today. And I have a concern on the documents that are going back and forth and how Sarah and, is it Rashad? What's the other person?
Yeah, Rashad went to a different firm.
Does Sarah have a different assistant then?
She does.
So the fact of the matter is, when I was reading this, the person most familiar with what the correct document looks like versus does not look like is not going to be available for 4 weeks and not available to interact with Sarah on this. And my concern would be, without knowing that we have drop dead, we're working with, Sarah has the right document to make these amendments too. I don't want to have us try to go through this again.
So who's the person? Who's the
That's what,
person?
I don't want to state it on public line when they're not available for 5 weeks.
Is it someone from the town or someone from
Yes.
Stantec's office?
No, it's from
Oh,
town.
okay, all right.
And that would be my only concern, that there's several versions that apparently are out there, and
This is the version that she dropped off here yesterday that was sent to Stantec, correct?
Sarah, yes.
To Sarah. This is it. So I don't know what you're speaking about other versions, because this is what was sent to her.
So if that you're handing right now with all the handwritten ones is what Sarah is going to go through and coordinate and come up with the final document, then are we okay, would be the question.
Well, I understood. Is there a photo missing here or something yet? Is everything
And
done?
to me, that's, you know, there's plenty of photos that could be submitted once somebody knew which page that they want a new photo specifically for. Nina has hundreds of probably photos that would work.
But you see, I come back to this. If it's not ready, if there's a photo or two missing, why hasn't that been completed prior to?
Because it was just requested.
So should Stantec be reviewing this at all until you're done?
We're done with our part. The county is done with their part. It's just a matter of what document are they gonna, do they need this, meaning does Sarah need to be able to make her final corrections on and have a completed document? So I would say, if they're missing a couple of pictures, we need to know specifically what Sarah is looking for, and then Nina can provide pictures which would probably work.
I think Sarah should have all the pictures that should be in there, but I sent her.
So then that's the thing. Sarah needs to pick a picture.
Okay, so if this is gonna go back to Stantec, they need more money.
Yep.
And that means that it will go back to the park committee at their October meeting to approve it, to send it to the board. Because this can't get approved by the board until the Parks Committee approves it first.
Right,
If you're gonna make changes to it at that time,
then we start all over again.
then we start all over and more money is gonna go down the pipe on this. My concern is that somewhere along the way, you have to say enough is enough, that we're done and we'll work on it in 7 or 10 years from now again. That's my position. Cause you can keep working this over and over and over again. Somewhere you have to draw the line. So if the line's gonna be drawn in October that you're gonna say yes to this, it goes to the board in our November meeting and we set it for a public hearing in December. That's the progress. So the earliest this gets passed is for the first of the year.
But either way, if we send it to Sarah, the document we get back is the document we live with at this point.
That was my understanding.
Mine too. And I,
Okay. Cause,
So that is, Terry, what you sent,
yes,
correct?
yes, exactly.
Right.
That's what she sent yesterday, right? Was it yesterday?
it was yesterday.
Because I was here, yeah, okay. So, having said that, we need to approve an additional up to $2,500 for the final revision of this plan. And that's where we're at. And that brings your, reviews costs up here, to about 18,000. So that's why I want to make sure that this is it. We're done. Where's everybody at?
We're done. That's the last thing, Jan. That's the last thing she said to me, was that it's getting done. And it was going to sit in.
Okay, who wants to make the motion?
I move that the town of St. Joseph outdoor recreation plan be taken on by Stantec to give us back up final copy, which to go to the park committee for a review and to be set up for a future public hearing and approval by the town board.
Second.
You seconded that, but you didn't put any money. You didn't put any money in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna amend it to include that the expense to be incurred will be $2,500 to Stantec, or not to exceed 2,500.
All right, second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, it passes. I don't think I have to put Perch Lake 4th of July on here anymore, but it's something to keep in mind for the future. And then the pickleball survey. So the pickleball survey came to you because the park committee would like to go forward with this pickleball survey. They showed their court options on this and they have a variety of other things on this. It's something that they wanted to do the survey at the fall festival. God, can I get it out of my brain today? And so it's up to the board. We have to approve these surveys. And, they did come back with the pickleball court usage, which was what I thought, but I'm glad that you did it. If you want to speak to some of that, go ahead. I'll
Sure,
finish
I'll
that
just,
up.
that was the first page of pickleball court estimated usage was based on your request. To give you an idea of pickleball courts in the area, I talked to many of the different towns and tried to get their input. Where I couldn't get their input, I went and played and observed. To give you an idea of the usage and how much it's used. Even at 115 heat degrees, there are several people out playing football, so. The other thing, I just wanted to advise you, there was some questions on what the Knowles Nelson area was and where we could put the pickleball court. We heard the concerns about using up the whole town park. So there are many different options that we could use within the park area. So I played out a few of them. I wasn't planning to talk about that in detail tonight, but I just wanted to answer those questions that you had related to where the Knowles Nelson's was and maybe where we could put some possible pickleball courts. The main thing for tonight was to talk about the pickleball survey. Before we can, provide you, we have got some good estimates in that, but we would like to get input from the residents. And so we'd like to put together the survey and have it out on, the website and on Facebook. Possibly publicize it at the Fall Fest, we'd like to. But it would be a very simple survey. We try to make it so that it appeals to both people who are for it and against it. We want to get everyone's opinion. So we tried to set it up that way, but we also wanted to find out other people who might be interested in this effort as well. So it's my understanding if we move forward with the survey that we would set up something on Survey Monkey, and that it's my understanding Terry knows how to do that. Assist us with that. Is that the right answer that I heard through the grapevine?
We can figure it out. Yeah.
But if you want these for the fall festival, Terry's in tomorrow, she can sure print them off and put them out here on a table for you to have.
That'd be a great way to start.
You can decide how many you want, but it's up to the board to agree to the survey. Nothing else is on the table tonight except the survey. So if you agree to what their survey shows on our website, then you can approve that tonight. And we can have Terry print up, I don't know, what, 200? What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great. I do have one question that. And it's a commentary and it's a request. Do we want to put court options, the court locations out at all?
No, because we haven't decided that at all.
Okay, and I was gonna say the Knowles Nelson Grant area needs to
None
be
of-
off the table.
It's
for
all
right now.
off the table.
Just for your reference.
That was
Okay.
for
The
us.
survey is, yeah, that's what I follow up from our previous meeting.
Yep, I just wanted to be clear what we were gonna
Yeah, I
put
do
out.
think though that the first paragraph of the survey probably then should be amended a little bit where it's saying evaluating construction of 2 pickleball courts on existing township
Right.
property, period.
Correct.
And don't put anything else
And it
other
shouldn't
than
be 24 because the board hasn't decided that. It shouldn't
It's-
say
yeah,
that they
you
will be
said
part
what-
of the 2024 budget. We haven't decided that.
You could just put the new courts would be part of a future budget.
So you can make those changes and forward that to Terry tonight sometime, and then she can take care of that tomorrow.
Or you
First
could,
of all,
and please substitute could be instead of would be. That'd be great.
and I would like to say the first sentence should say the town of St. Joseph, not the township. Anything else from anybody? Anyone want to
Citizen
make?
comment?
Go ahead.
Should it be in the newsletter also?
Well, it could be, but right now, we're just talking about the actual survey. The newsletter is further down on the agenda tonight.
No, I was referring to the survey being in the newsletter also.
That's a possibility.
You're gonna reach more people that way.
This is the timing of the newsletter.
We don't know yet. This is up to the board. I don't have an answer on that yet.
That was one of my original questions. If you approve going ahead with the survey, how long would you keep it up? And you have a preference on that?
I say you leave it up a couple of months. I don't think you get a good reaction if you don't. Because if we do a fall newsletter, it's not going to be out before at least 6 weeks.
I think doesn't Survey Monkey, are you gonna use Survey Monkey?
That was.
She said that, yeah.
Because I think that it goes by your IP address and if you fill out the survey, it doesn't let you do it over and over.
Right.
Yeah, I would assume we would make a different decision if it's going in the fall. It wouldn't be something where someone would fill out the bubbles in the fall newsletter and mail it back to us.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Terry may yell at all of us. if we did.
Yeah, and you can just use Survey Monkey.
But the question is, if people are here on Saturday and people are willing to fill out the survey, isn't it a win for us? It's cheap and it gives
Yeah.
us a good
Sure.
feel.
Yeah, we shouldn't limit
And-
our options. We should make it paper-based, you make it digital, you put it in the newsletter.
Yeah.
If what we're trying to do is get the widest amount of feedback on this,
Right.
then we need to use all options that we have for us, available to us. So So, yeah, I would support the survey going out, because I think more information is better and we can get a better
Yeah.
handle on it. And I appreciate the information that you provided us, so thank you for
Yeah,
going and doing the things we had asked. Definitely provides a bit more clarity and,
Well,
yeah.
you can see how many courts there are. Yeah.
Do we want them? So are we, I guess the question would be, will we be printing out and handing out and letting them fill out surveys on Saturday?
Well, that's what I stated, is if she can get it back to her and we approve this, that we could do that. I
It's both
said,
an opportunity.
do you want 200? Do you want 300? What do you want?
You have any idea how many people are coming in Saturday? Not.
No idea.
I was thinking.
Okay, because then you can tell them to go to the website after that.
Yeah.
Yes,
People have to identify themselves,
no, they don't on this.
so they could vote more than once.
They could possibly vote more than
That could
once.
be,
No.
but at this point, we're just looking for a feeler.
Yeah, and hopefully you can get that condensed on one page somehow.
Yes.
That would be great. Anyone want to make a motion for the survey with the changes?
I make a motion that we develop a survey for the pickleball court for the fall festival.
I'll second it.
Okay. And then we can in addition add it to our website if you're okay with that. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it passes. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Plan Commission. Oh, hello, Anton. There's a whole lot on here. So the junkyards and chronic nuisances and enforcement issues. I would like to talk about the first one, which was the former campground, which is now burning tires.
Well, they're cleaning up.
Well, I got a phone call, more than one. The sheriff's been called out there twice for high particulate in the air from the burning that he's doing. What?
Is it a former or are they still doing that too?
They're still doing, they were doing it last week.
Camping.
No, I mean,
This is at the-
it's still a campground and now they've added to what they're doing.
Well, supposedly there has not been campers in there in the last couple of weeks, but now they're burning a variety of things. The sheriff's been out there a couple of times because the particulate levels are so high that it's dangerous to be outside.
Are they issuing citations when they're out there?
I presume so. I haven't talked to them directly. I've talked to the neighbors who called them. One of which is one of our firefighters. Who called me and asked me, could I see it? It was that bad. I was like, oh, for goodness sakes. So that's ongoing. I want you to know that that's still ongoing and I will try to get a sheriff's report on that.
Yeah, please do. That particular owner has been responsive to me. And so to the extent that there is a sheriff's report that we can reference.
Yeah.
I'm happy to reach out to.
Okay. Then on the Cox house, I know that Jay reached out to you on that one. Where are we on that?
Yep, yeah, so Jay and I have had conversations on both Cox and Rolling Hills. Cox, I don't know that Chris Nelson from our office was involved in working on that one. Jay explained that that was an issue principally related to the building of a garage that was intended to be a second residence. And that Todd Dolan had been working on that. I've reached out to Todd to get this file on it. And to understand what the current status is.
Okay.
And so that's where that's at. I will provide the board, I can provide the board with an update as soon as I get Todd's file and connect with him.
Okay.
On that one, but I now know at least what we're dealing with there. So.
And Rolling Hills, the gentleman reached out to me. I referred him to Nick.
Yes.
Because there's litigation going on and I did not want to become involved, so you can speak to that.
Yeah, so I reached out to Corporation Counsel Heather Amos because before we had zoning authority, the county had zoning authority and the county had engaged in litigation with Mr. Michaud regarding the junkyard that he was allowing to remain on his property. The county actually filed a case seeking forfeiture and a fine for every day in violation. of the ordinance. The court found Mr. Michaud and his wife in violation of the county ordinances and applied or issued a forfeiture of $100 a day for 440 some days in violation. So a $44,000 forfeiture against the Michauds, which apparently is being paid at the rate back to the county at a rate of $200 per month. Although the Corporation Counsel's office extended an offer that if that property were cleaned up, that the county would consider waiving the forfeiture, and apparently it's not been cleaned up at all at this point. Mr. Michaud filed, that was in 2020 when that forfeiture was issued by the court. In 2022 or through 2022, Mr. Michaud and his wife filed an appeal of that particular forfeiture award and the finding, and the Court of Appeals found for the county. So, you know, here you have an existing case where the county has a judgment and a forfeiture and an order to clean up the property. And now we have local zoning authority with the potential to jump in and do some enforcement ourselves. So I have a meeting scheduled with Heather Amos next week to kind of walk through. I want to understand what they're doing, what they're actively doing, if anything. You know, I suspect the county at this point has said, we've done what we're going to do, and Mr. Michaud can continue to pay us $200 a month. And so then at that point, we're gonna have to decide whether we want to take any action now for violation of our zoning code. That being said, we will have that discussion in closed session. So I'll meet with Heather, gather her file, and then probably at the next meeting, we will have a conversation in closed session to discuss strategy on behalf of the town.
Any other questions on those two items? Any other enforcement issues? I was contacted by the deputy sheriff for trespassing issue on the Highway 35 on the Bluff area where the gentleman was accessing someone else's property in order to cut down a bunch of trees. I did refer that to St. Croix County Planning or Community Development because they are in charge of the Riverway District and he's clear cutting. The deputy sheriff had a multiple of discussions with him, ended up citing him for trespassing because he will not stop accessing the next door neighbor's property. And meanwhile, they're trying to access and figure out how much he's cut down and what and why. So you can't cut the bluff. You can take down dead trees, but you can't cut it down. And so that's what they're dealing with. And there'll be more on that next month. Yeah. It'll be fun. But anyway, he contacted me because he was stressed for time and he said, can you give this information to the county, which I did. And they've got a couple people working on it. On to the chapter 101 fees. You said oh, sorry, did I miss something?
No, but I revised my assessment of that item since we talked.
Oh, okay.
Because I double checked the minutes from last time.
I missed this. What did I?
So at the last meeting, there was a question about the maps and being consistent.
Oh, yes.
And then there was a request to send that back to the plan commission. So the maps got confirmed and corrected, but it didn't get to the.
It didn't get to them. So you'll have that in your next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So I will not.
So we're set on
That will
that.
happen next time for sure.
Okay.
So this is a re-agenda?
Yep. Yep. I thought I knew what I was doing, but obviously probably not. And then I think we're done with Lee unless anyone has any questions for him. We'll let him go. All right. Thank you, Lee. On to the next thing, update to ordinances. We had talked to the plan commission about needs on ordinances. A couple of things came up. I put it out there because on chapter 170-47 traffic and parking standards, we have a big problem with taverns, cafes, restaurants. We show that they only have to provide one parking space per 500 square feet. I think those were typos. Because that means a 3,000 square foot restaurant or bar only has to have 6 spots. We know that's never gonna be enough.
That'd be 500, 20 by 25.
It'd be an affordable restaurant to open.
Yeah. But even bigger, it still isn't enough. Most taverns, cafes and restaurants, if you look at other parking standards and other ordinances, are somewhere between 25 and 50 square feet. So
So-
I've put a few of those on here in my memo to you guys, and I'm requesting that the plan commission would review those parking standards, because obviously there's some, I think it's a typo is what I think it is. You know,
And you're saying this applies to all the ones above that, you use tavern, cafe, restaurants?
yeah, I just threw them out there because I kind of, you know.
Because
threw it
the
out
other, the
there.
one right above is
Yeah,
the same, and you would
it's the
think that
same.
would be higher as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just think it needs to be revisited. I don't think it's correct, and I think it got missed in our, you know, when you're trying to type, proofread this stuff, it doesn't always translate well. So that's one. Then the second item that's in your drive has to do with site plans. I bring this up because although our ordinance does allow for site plans for conditional use permits, it doesn't open us up to site plans for other things and for what happens when changes are made to a permitted or conditional use permit. There's been a lot of conflict in towns without site plans, and what happens is things happen here and then things happen here and they're conflicting with each other because this person may have increased something on his site without having to come before the board. So a case in point that I just experienced working in the town of Hudson is there are 2 parcels owned by the same person. This parcel is leased by someone. Well, this parcel is still owned by the owner of the 2. This person got a conditional use permit on his parcel. This person decided he was going to expand his parking lot. The conditional use permit on this parcel has not been acted upon at this time yet. It was given, but it has not been built. But he went ahead and added on to his parking. Well, now his parking overlaps the conditional use permit that was granted on the property B. Well, if he would have come in, he should have come in for a site plan. But if he would have come in for a site plan, the town would have known they gave a conditional use permit on site B that site A can't infringe upon. You see what I'm saying? And so this stuff starts happening and you're unaware of it. And it's one thing on conditional uses because you're requiring those site plans. It's different on permitted uses or site plans that get or sites that get expanded without coming in. So I put together some language here based on a couple of different ordinances. It was something that was in the ordinances we looked at before we did zoning, but we kind of just put a paragraph out there. But I'm feeling like that's not enough and that we're going to come into these conflicting things. I'm seeing it happen across the county that conflicts are starting between conditional uses and someone existing and expanding. And now all of a sudden we're in conflict with each other. And how do you resolve it once somebody's out? I mean, you got to take out a parking lot. You have to change what they've done, and that people aren't happy about that because they just wanted a few more spaces, you know? So I put this out here and I'd like to have the planning commission take another look at this because originally it was in our zoning ordinance. We pulled it out and condensed it. And now I'm asking to say, maybe we should take another look.
So basically, it's not fair.
I think it's only fair that if you're going to allow anything outside of residential, you should have site plans.
Yes, and working with them out in my own personal stuff, it gives you guidelines that you don't go outside of, or somebody can point to it.
Yeah.
It's a set of rules or a playbook.
So if you're all uncomfortable with that, we'll just send these 2 off to them. That's where I started.
And the other thing that I see is if you don't have. It's. He's doing it. Why can't I?
Why can't I? And that's always a problem, especially the people who do things and ask for forgiveness later. And
I-
hope for the best, as Nick shakes his
I
head.
prefer those people.
Anything else for anybody on that? Meanwhile, I just keep reviewing my way through them, but that's where I started. I figured that was enough on your plate to begin with, okay?
Thanks.
No problem. Are you done for the night? I think you're pretty much done. And we can let you go if you wish. Oh, you're gonna stick around for technology? Good. Just stick around for technology. I love it. So technology, this came up and I had asked for the paperwork from John on this, because John was going to write you all a letter regarding devices. And obviously that didn't get done. The technology committee had decided not to.
Correct.
Yeah. If you want to speak more to that, you can. I mean, the check stack
Basically
bills.
came down to,
Right. No.
there was not that much interest from the board in having town supplied devices and not using personal devices.
That was from your survey.
Yes.
Okay. John was also gonna speak to public records, which he didn't get a chance to put that paper together as regards to email, et cetera. But that's what came back from them, is they had chosen not to approve.
Yeah, I can summarize the public records and you'll probably get something more detailed from John.
Yeah, yeah.
But effectively, anything that's subject to discovery, as far as we understand it, can be copied to Terry.
Yeah.
And just because some records that you may have on your laptop are subject potentially to discovery doesn't mean that that entire laptop is.
Yeah. Thank you. So EV charging, we had a discussion about that,
Yes.
and St. Croix Electric put it at the golf course.
Yes, they had two chargers and they put them at, I don't remember if they were both down at White Eagle or one
Yeah.
there and one at
They're both there. So that's where that went. Okay. And then Google Drive.
Current plan is to continue using Google Drive, but reorganize it.
Yep.
And put together some guidelines for how it'll be used in ways that avoids the confusion that happened with one of the committees that was basically replacing documents that
Yeah.
should have been archived with
Yes.
newer versions. And part of that is going to be that Terry will be controlling more areas of the drive. And so
yeah,
changes to be made will go through Terry. If they're like not in the working documents, basically.
And OneDrive seems to be much more expensive.
Yeah.
Per user.
OneDrive was a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Did we look at SharePoint?
That we have the right licensing for Google Drive.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did we look at SharePoint instead of OneDrive?
Yeah, it also was like very expensive compared to Google.
Okay.
I think that the committee felt,
Numbers, I don't for them offhand.
I think the committee felt they solved some of the problems with handing the control of the drive where it belongs to the clerk's office and not allowing committees to take it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my issue,
It still doesn't solve the problem with like.
Word.
It still doesn't solve the collaborative ordinance thing problem. But we can deal with that by not doing the editing on Google Drive itself.
Yeah.
Downloading into Word, making changes with
yeah, I think what would be really helpful is when you guys go through the reorganization of Google Drive is setting up how someone should edit it, because
yes.
one of the things I've repeatedly seen as a problem is the clerk's office uploads something as a Word doc. It goes out to a committee, it gets modified in Google, gets back to the clerk's office. Now it's a Google doc. Now everything's hosed up on it. It's not formatted correctly.
Right.
Back, forth, back. There has to be some kind of standardized documentation that every committee complies with then.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else on those?
Guess that one other thing I'll mention
Yes.
is that, we're also going to investigate, looking at what Synology offers. For collaborative editing, because we have it, but we don't expect that that's going to be something that committee members would use. But we want to understand what's there at least.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Anton. We appreciate it. Backup generator.
It's hooked up,
It's hooked up. And then we're
and
having
our education day is
October something. What's it? Terry knows.
October something.
there was a lot of that going on, so I was just gonna wait till the dust settled.
Come on, Terry, don't you have it on the
day of the board meeting? Well, what's the board meeting?
The 12th? No. It's the day of the board meeting
So far it's in the morning.
at 8 a.m.
Keep muted.
Right now, it's you and I and the
Oh.
fire chief and another person from him and Terry.
Okay, so I'm gonna be,
Well, you're not gonna be gone. What? Okay,
Sure, I would love to be here.
Justin will be here.
I did actually want to be here. I'm asked to
There
be
you go.
involved
Well,
and no
see,
one calls me.
There you go, you're all in, right?
yeah.
You guys all talk to Teresa too much. Don't call me now, huh?
And the water hydrant, where are we on that?
So I'm glad we're bringing this up. I got educated on that. The water hydrant is not like what I put in all the time, being that it's a public building. We'd have to come inside here and hook to it and plumb it across, and then when it is over there, the type of hydrant that we would put in over there is pretty extravagant and could potentially get damaged if we don't use it right. So your simple stringing a garden hose over there would be a lot better off.
So we just put a spigot on that side of the building,
Yeah.
is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Cause what are you using it for? Just to wash the tractor off and?
yeah, there's been asked for it and need
Okay.
for it, and I had been used to going out digging next to the well and going over as far as you want. And doing one of these
Yeah.
numbers, not in a public setting.
So don't we have a spigot on the side of the building with a bib on it, or did we get rid of that when we had?
Well,
gone.
you're talking over there and not,
Oh, you're talking
Yeah.
over there closer to public works. Got it.
so whatever.
Okay,
I'll point out that there's one over here on this corner.
yeah, there's one on that corner, but that's not very convenient for the tractor. And don't we have one in the front? Or is that just the big one?
Yeah, that's what she's
Okay.
describing.
So we can just put a hose on any of those. Okay. Thank you. ARPA funding and approval expenditures. So we paid half the generator. We've only paid half. We haven't gotten the bill for the second half. And that came out of ARPA funds, just so, because we approved that last time. And I don't think there's anything else to approve on this agenda for ARPA that I know of.
So maybe you can answer this, Terry, maybe you can't. Did he gain access to hook up all the wiring in there or not yet? For the generator?
And I believe Zach was here.
Yeah,
With
well,
them.
he hooked it all up, but then there was a question about turning it on. Because when they cut the gas to the water heater in the furnaces.
Oh,
So someone must have I was out of town and so was Zach. So someone must have come in here and gotten him access, because they wouldn't be running, we wouldn't have. Maybe they're not, because it's warm out, so I'll have to check that, now that you say that. I just assumed that someone let him into the room upstairs and they got it up and going.
oh.
Because when they cut the gas, that left all the pilots go.
All I heard from Zach was that.
We were gonna be without hot water for the weekend and then it was gonna be okay after that.
Okay, so he must have come in after.
All I heard.
Okay, I'll check with Zach on that. But I know it's hooked all the way in and done. I know it was just a question of the gas
Okay.
Okay. Results of the perk test of the town hall. So we approved at our meeting to have perk tests done in 3 places here at the town hall. You received all of them back. And every one of them requires a mound system. And
Correct.
this did perk for a mound, which I am rather surprised.
What now?
This out here perked for a mound,
Correct.
which I was rather surprised.
Oh, well, actually, what's fun is looking at the previous perking
Yeah,
stuff. We shouldn't have got that, but we did back then.
oh, you mean where it is? Oh, yeah, back then though, that was.
Well, it should have
50
been
years
a
ago.
mound, but our forefathers had to put this in.
That's when everybody went like this and just did it, right?
That's why I use the word forefather.
Yes. So that gives us choices for whatever it is we want to
So
go forward
When's
with.
our workshop for the
The
building?
next steps for the work session, which comes up next Tuesday. So I just want to share a couple
And
of
that date
things.
is,
Tuesday, the 19th.
okay,
Justin will be gone.
I won't be here, so it's up to
I'll
all
cover.
of you to make the best decisions.
so basically some food for thought, and we can move on, is we did the office one is obviously here, the baseball field is out there. Town hall building is where this flat spot is, okay? So then part of,
No, I'm gonna back you up. The town hall is here. The office building is there. Location 2.
or, sorry,
I'm sorry.
well, it's all on top.
Okay, but I'm just saying that's,
Oh, I did point to the
Office-
office.
Office building is pavilion area.
yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, I did
Okay.
point over
All right.
there. And then- So. Anyways, through our workshop, we'll have to. Figure out what's suited, so as far as if we consume the ball field. The current tank that's out there, we'd put a new lid on top of that, there'd be the septic tank, and then the drain field would go along the edge of the. Existing slope out there, okay? And then the. Office building. Site is across the parking lot here, and of course we get. All new, and then part of the discussion was with the potential installer is. We could have bathrooms on the end of the building that would be open to the public all the time. In his math of daily use. So.
A couple of things I would like to share has to do with the work session. As I did make a few phone calls and I did talk to E&A Studio, which is the old. What are they called? EA Studio, used to be Elliott.
Yeah.
Architects.
Yeah, studio.
Oh my God. I can't
Yeah,
even
well,
think.
I'm glad you called there. Okay?
I made
Studio EA.
Studio EA. So I made a call to them. They have done a few of those type of buildings, but they will not come forth with anything to us without a RFP, and they would expect that would be a 2 to 3, maybe 4 month process.
Okay.
In addition, he stated to me that whatever it is, you're probably looking at 10% for their fees. And that's just a ballpark in the air number. So that's something to consider. I also spoke to Bruce from Stantec, who of course we contract with Stantec. He does not need an RFP to move forward. That would be just something the board would agree to do. He's provided us with the plan that you have so far. He has done many of those buildings and is willing to show you what he's done other places. I did mention to him the Star Prairie Town Hall, which is not big enough for our use, but gives you an idea of how to lay something out that's different than what we have here, which I do like I liked it the minute they built it. I still like it. That's somewhat of a wood, almost a pole barn type building, but it has extra doors and a nice, very nice front on it. I mean, you've been past it. I've been there multiple times. But it's too small for this community. It would have to be bigger. He mentioned that there's a lot of ways that you can save money, but you know, I mentioned to him modular, and he said the problem with modular is you have to have supports through all those modulars when you put them together. They can't be open. So he said that really infringes upon elections greatly. So I'm throwing that out at you because Bruce will be at our meeting next Tuesday to talk to you about some of those things. Our spending on this has to be started and committed by December 31st of next year and completed by December of 26. So those dates are firm. ARPA funds had those dates to begin with. They still are the same dates. Our things that we have to file with the feds on that is every June 30th. So this June 30th of next year, when she files, she'll file whatever we choose to spend. If we choose to go this route and move forward, we can, in retrospect, I'm just going to give you a scenario. Let's say we move forward with the addition. You can take whatever you've spent on Stantec so far, and it can come out of that ARPA funds. You just have to state that that's what you want to use it for. If you choose to do something else, you have that ability too. As far as the perk tests are concerned, that I have to check on. I'm not sure that the perk test money can come out of there for all sites. I'll have to check on that because there are some limitations to some of these things.
Sure, I
So-
look at, go ahead.
So I'm throwing all those things out because I do want people to think about this. We have some momentum, and I hate to see the momentum lost when I think this is a pretty straightforward and thing to do, but it all depends on which way we go. The other thing I wanted you all to know is that I did speak to Zach, and Zach is coming forward with needs and wants. I stated to him, I think whatever the town board decides to do, if we turn this building over to them, fire department, how many hours a month are they using this room? How many hours a month are they using that workout area that they've got set up there now that's taking up a good 30% of that building, the addition? How much in addition is it going to cost us to run 2 power plants, et cetera? Because I think those are all things we all have to think about. I'm not saying one is better or one is bad. I'm just saying, I'm trying to open this up to everybody to think about this. Bruce did meet with him and I last week, and he did go over what he needs to build out that back wall and do that mezzanine upstairs that he wants. So we did meet on that, and Bruce has some ideas on that and did some measuring. So that is something that can be done. He's checking on the doors, and you came up with a different vendor that's significantly less than the vendor that he was looking at. So that's great news for us. He still has not had time to meet with the door lock people on the door thing. So he said, I just want the board, he was online tonight, but had to go because he's working. He wanted us to know that he is working on it, but he hopes to have something next week. He didn't have anything for us this week on that yet. He's still working on that.
That's fine. I think he, you know, which I'm not saying he's not, I think he needs to speak up to make a sound decision
Yeah.
for the future of
Yep.
the fire department. I think whatever building we're choosing or whatever we're doing, it's a tool. It's a tool for the community. It's a tool to the firefighters. I think, and maybe I'm out of line, but I think they've been quiet way too long. And now it's kind of a shock to all of us. And I kind of look at a vision too that's not there yet, but if they had this space and could educate more and host more, like, you know, like the kitchen setup, and be more of a community. I think they would draw more young people
Mhm.
and have more of a firefighting family. Education is another empowerment if they could have it here. You know, they've done great for the past 30 years. I just look at, they need to have more tools. It's stagnant if we just kind of keep them boxed in.
Right, and I don't dispute that. I just want him to come forward
Yep.
because I feel like we've been kind of operating in a vacuum here.
Yep.
And I don't want them to say, oh, we want this, and then to find out later this isn't working out. I want them to be sure of the step they're taking because it's a huge step and it's a huge step for the town. So that's my concern, is that we just don't step into this of a whole brand new building without knowing this is the right direction from them.
Absolutely.
From them, and not
Absolutely.
have them go, well, yeah, we're gonna use it, 3 times a month. Well, if that's the use of it, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, then we're really getting to the nuts and bolts of what the fire department's doing.
Yeah.
I guess I'm giving them way more credit right now, or thinking where they should be versus maybe they aren't. Okay,
That's what we'll find out next week.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And the other thing, since we're talking out loud, is, okay, here you have this area. We moved somewhere else with the office, everything's, well, now we need a different build out now.
Yeah.
Is it a large amount, or is it something they can handle on their budget, right?
Right,
Or,
because this AV equipment's gonna have to come with us. We paid a lot of money for it. It can't sit here and not be used.
okay, there's another conversation. I was thinking this would be for education for,
They don't need this stuff. They don't need this for education.
oh, so
They-
when they're doing.
They-
Am I out of line thinking they're doing a Zoom fire class?
No, they can do Zoom, but they can do it on an hour or something that's not as intense as this, but microphone system.
Okay.
This might be a little bit more like, flooding, swatting a fly with a tank kind of solution.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just,
so this would move with us if we move.
I'm fine with any of that. I just assumed
Yeah.
they needed.
Everything but that projector can move.
Oh, exactly. I'm with you.
That can stay right where it is.
Well,
The
yeah,
potato on the.
That, yes, that 2006 high school projector can stay right where it
Justin,
is.
I just have to say this. I sat in a meeting, on a class today all morning, and guess what it was?
That.
2 projectors at the county boardroom. It's 2 projectors.
Ah.
The new edition is gonna have all that.
So anyway, I'm just throwing this all out at you because I really think I want to get down to some nitty gritty here
I do.
because we just can't keep twirling, we got to start focusing.
He needs to give us some answers and
Yeah.
we need to get to the bottom of
Exactly. So that's where we're at. Anything else on that? Otherwise, do you want to approve a fall newsletter?
I'd like to just talk about. I want to go back to our ARPA funds, and so I've got a couple of simple questions. First of all, I go back to. You brought it up, this annual document and the reporting, and you throw that out in the air, and you're probably the only one that's ever done it, but according to the ruling that was put out on a December 2021 thing, they're talking ARPA, which the new technical verbiage for that is SL some long thing.
Right.
And we really should probably get up to speed and call it, SLFRF.
Yeah, but we can't change that now. We already checked on that at the town of Hudson.
Change what?
So the funding that you have, that you put in the bank says ARPA. The approvals that you're giving and have already given say ARPA. Now you want to change the name of it halfway through. The clerk in the town of Hudson called the feds on this and said, so now you're calling it SL RFV or whatever it is. Do we need, if I change, he goes, oh no, don't change it. Do not do that, because if you get audited, how are you gonna prove what you
Oh,
did and where you
reconcile.
did it? So they told her not to.
Okay,
And
so
I
we're gonna,
believe-
we're gonna keep calling it ARPA then.
Yeah.
But there's the chart here, which you must have already seen. This is like laddered out for the completion dates of projects all the way to 2027.
No, the rule is December 31st of 2026. That's the rule.
And so. Okay, which that aligns with what it says here, and we keep hearing, you know, the 2024 number.
2024 is when the project has to be in the pipeline.
Started.
Has to be at least started, on the ground started.
Okay, that's
So
that's
for instance,
started is different than finished.
I never said finished. I said it had to be finished by 26. So the thing is that people have done projects and now have monies left over. Say they've got $40,000 left over. They're committing that to something and getting it spent next year so they can get out of the cycle and be done.
So here's my question. Are we talking about building expansion? Because we have $350,000 we're trying to figure out what to spend it on quickly? Or is this a matter of we're to the point that this building expansion, or whether you want, it's a new building or an addition to this one, it's still an expansion of our facility area? Is our only goal to hurry up and spend the money, or is that what we're trying to do here really quickly?
No, the focus was always on the deficiencies of this building. That's always been the focus on this. That's what the ARPA committee focused on. This is what we've been focusing on, is the deficiencies of this and the fact that you have an opportunity in this time frame to use this funding to correct some of that. Now, if you want to use the funding on something else, that's a starting point that's going to have to be started pretty quick. But right now, that's what the ARPA committee came up with. We've spent the ARPA funds on everything else in their 1 through list that they said. So here's where we are at. This building's deficiencies are evident to anyone who is here all the time and sees how it works for elections, number 1, and for the office, number 2, and for the safety of the office. I'm seeing this happening across the board. Lots of municipalities in this state use their ARPA funding to improve their facilities because it's the only way to get it done. Because they don't have the money to do it. It's not like we've got slush funds to do this. So this is a problem. And it was the deficiencies of the building that drove the project and the opportunity that's presented to us at this time. I mean, you can hold off and not do this for 2-3 years and you're still standing in the same place with $350,000 less money. That's in essence what you're doing. I mean, you take the opportunity when it arises, and the deficiencies are evident. I will tell you this, I sat in a 7.5 hour video Zoom meeting of the Wisconsin Elections Commission this week, and it is frightening, absolutely frightening, with the number of restrictions and rules that they're going to be putting in place that involve space. It is frightening. Frightening.
Sure.
And that's where we're going. Elections are going to rule the roost.
So we're gonna govern.
So
on
as
fear.
you
And fear has
watch,
nothing to do with it. That's not true at all. This is the rules that we have to operate under. These are, you shall do this, not you will. You shall do this. There's no fear involved.
so as you invested in the time doing that, thank you. I couldn't sit there that long.
I did it in 2 days.
Did you find yourself going, I agree with how they're educating you on it, or were you like, eh? This is.
Some of the
exhausting.
things I think are absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
For instance, they're saying that now you have to provide a space from 3 foot to 8 foot away from every voter as they check in or register to vote. So here I am checking in a voter. They want 3 to 8 feet behind me for an observer to stand and
You need a
watch what we're
distance
doing.
stick.
Yeah, well, they come,
Want you to take it.
they're gonna come in and
Tape on the
measure.
ground.
Yeah, they're gonna come and tape it on the ground and measure it. I mean, but
Oh,
that's what.
no shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. City of Hudson, Village of Hudson, Town of Hudson, Town of Kenny, City of New Richmond, all got audited last year with someone who came in with a laser and measured everything. Measured everything. That's how they found out that the city built a fire hall that was not ADA compliant on the ramp coming in. Who does this? But anyway, they want 3 to 8 feet behind every person checking in. Well, how are you gonna do that?
That's a big difference between 3 and 8 foot.
That's their standard. That's the standard.
Yeah, which one is it? 3 foot or 8 foot?
The standard is 3 to 8.
So if you got the
So if you
room,
have
go
3
8
You're
foot.
good.
Or you got someone standing right over your shoulder at 3 foot. I mean, these are the
Oh.
things we're facing, and what I'm trying to say to you all is, I'm not operating under fear.
Bureaucracy.
I am trying to operate under the idea that this clerk treasurer of ours and her staff and all of our election workers need to have the space available to them
Yeah,
to
this
work.
room's too small with that kind of.
Because, I mean, yeah. You know, the one we're building is gonna have to be plenty big enough to do this. That's some of the things coming down the pipeline. So I'm not operating under fear. I'm operating under the fact that this is a need for us and we need to figure this out and figure it out fast.
Yep. we will.
This is not rocket science. Figure out what we're gonna do and just move
Yeah,
on.
we
The,
will.
the other thing you're getting to, and we've seen this across all of our cities, and Terry knows this well, is that we're getting all these open records requests for various different aspects of the election process. Which, you know, ultimately, is that gonna lead to liability on the part of the town? No, but it's a heck of a lot of work for Terry and administrative staff in small communities. And so the more compliant that we are, the more knowledgeable that we are regarding the requirements, so that we can say, you know, we know that we're absolutely compliant with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's just going to make it easier for our team internally to respond to the questions and the requests that are just, you know, frankly, have really ramped up over the course of the last 2 years. So I view it not necessarily doing it out of fear, but knowing that compliance is going to be really important. You know, we absolutely need to be able to respond in a timely manner and know that we are in compliance, so that we're not surprised by whatever the next hot request is coming through.
Okay, can we move on? Can you guys, I need a motion to approve a fall newsletter if you so wish to do it. It costs about $3,000 to get them out.
I make a motion to approve developing a fall newsletter.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it passes.
When will that go out?
I don't know, when do you want it to go out? I am out of town for I'm not out of town, I am indisposed for the next 3 weeks.
I just want a date so I can know when to start looking in my mailbox.
How about if I let you know when we get it done, right? I'll let,
On or before
I'm
November.
hoping for November.
November mailing,
You said aiming for November?
I'm aiming for November.
so it's a fall winter.
Yeah, it's gonna be fall,
Wait.
winter, like spring, summer. I'm doing fall, winters now and spring,
We'll
summer.
put a scarf on the pumpkin.
I know.
There,
I-
that'll
You know
be
what,
perfect.
guys? This time, this year is just September and first part of October is killing me. I'm trying my best. Trying my best.
Public record.
Public records request. You just got, well, we'll talk about that in closed session, but what else?
I'm
How many
trying to
public
think how
records
many I have.
requests did you get?
Well, she's got the one on the voting machine. She's got 2 of them.
Yeah, 2 of those, and I think I had one other one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Total of 3,
Yeah, plus one more we're talking about in closed session.
so total of 4 since last month.
Yep.
yeah.
Any idea how many hours you're gonna put in this?
Hmm. No,
Swag. It's
I mean,
true.
they never,
2 of them are just, you know,
so
it
4.
takes a lot more thought than just compiling records, so.
Okay, no, just a little real.
Okay. Approval of town board minutes from the last, is it last two meetings are in there?
Yeah, two.
Two, last in September meetings.
So July and August, or no,
Two-
you jump,
Two August meetings. I'm
Two
sorry,
August meetings.
August meetings, good lord.
do you have the dates for those real quick?
Uh,
August
21.
8/21 and, sorry,
8/10.
8/10.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 10th and August 21st, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye, opposed, it passes. And we have a whole list of bills here. Did anyone have any questions on them before I make the motion?
I just wanted to have the bill for Northwest Communications. It seems like it's always being stated as a late payment, so the total amount on the invoice is $359.25, yet we still only have a pay request for $179.90. Is anyone opposed to just making the bill current and paying the 2 months in 1 month and then we go back to the
I
one?
ain't got a problem with that.
No.
So we're gonna pay 1 month ahead.
Well, you're just gonna stop getting it as a late notice
Well,
every
because
time.
what'll happen then is you'll get a zero bill.
No, because then you'll just be paid to current.
So Teresa, my question would be on Northwest, can we put that on auto pay? Because I had the same problem at my house. I put it on auto pay and I get a statement every month.
Unfortunately, the town has never done auto pay on bills, but we can instruct the clerk to pay the bill mid-month. And then. we will not be late.
So we can do it that
Yeah.
they're authorized to pay that one bill for that
Mid-month. Without.
upon receipt.
You wanna do
Would that take care of it?
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve bills and vouchers from check number 24351 to check number 24417, including fund transfers and EFTs. And in addition, to allow the clerk to pay the Northwest Communication bill when it comes.
Second,
I had a question then. Did is the perk test on there again?
Yes,
Where did we put that? Did it come out of the general fund?
yes,
Okay,
yep.
thanks.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, it passes. Any items for your next board agenda? Oh, good. Nobody's got anything. I love that. You can always let me know. How's that?
well, I'm always so shy in emailing what I want on the agenda.
I know. I appreciate that you mail ahead of time and don't wait till after I've got it done.
I try to usually do it on the first or
Okay.
second swing at that.
We're gonna go into closed session then. We'll take a motion to go into closed session.
go
Make
ahead
a
and
motion.
close. Go ahead.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 subsection G to confer with legal counsel regarding the Cajun Club.
Second,
Justin Cruz,
Aye.
Matt Moore,
Aye.
Lori DeRocher,
Hi.
Chris Marshall,
aye.
Teresa Johnson.
Hi, we are in closed session. I can stop the recording quick and then I got it here, Justin. I got it.
Cool. I was really hoping this meeting wouldn't go this